Well, good evening, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. Just because we have such a large group, we're starting with a slightly larger group than yesterday, and I expect it to continue to grow. I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody, but I'll unmute you, or you can unmute yourself when it's time for that little interactive part of what we're doing today, okay? So I'm going to mute everybody. Folks are still coming in. This is a Real Investors event. We start our events with a prayer. So if you would please join with me. Dear Lord, we thank you so much for your wonderful hand upon us. We thank you for the blessings of being able to live and grow and work another day. We just ask that you continue to have your hands upon ourselves, upon this country, and upon those who are in leadership. We just ask that you just continue to bless us, that you continue to enlighten us, and that you help us to be your instrument of peace. In Jesus' name, amen. So I'm going to jump right to it. I promised you guys that we were going to start on time and we're going to end on time. And we are not going to penalize anybody who shows up on time. I'm hearing a little bit of background, so I got to mute everybody. I'm trying to figure out where that's coming from. Okay. So real quick, if you can see my screen, give us a nice thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up. You can see the screen. Can you guys see the screen okay? Yes? Yes, yes? Yes? Okay, good.
Yes, yes.
So this is 21 Days of Real Estate Riches. This is this is the all new, and feel free to ask any questions you want in the chat. I've got the chat box open. So if you guys start asking questions, I'll do the best of my ability to answer them. I am not promise. Okay, and we're back. So real quick, again, we're not going to penalize those who showed up early. And despite my best efforts, we still have people who refuse to mute themselves. Again, we've got a lot of people in this session, so please make sure that you're muted until it's time to speak. And we're not there yet, so let me see one more thing here. Wow, we still got people coming in. Good grief. Wow. And I just got through saying we're not going to penalize those who showed up on time, but I got to admit them in. Sooner or later, I'm going to get a little help with the admin feature, getting one of the folks from the staff to help me out by letting people into the room so I can just keep on teaching. All right, so 21 Days of Real Estate Riches. If you haven't figured out yet or not, you are here, which is kind of cool. Oops, your, not your, E, it's, okay, oops, we'll get it together. You're here. So I know we're only on day 2, but look, we're already well along in terms of our first week. Today, we're talking about why real estate. I want to have sort of an in-depth conversation on why real estate. A lot of people, quite frankly, get involved in real estate and don't even know why they're doing it. And that just is just kind of crazy to me. So we're going to talk about real estate as the cornerstone of as a wealth creation program, and how we as real estate investors can really enhance the sort of wealth building characteristics that are embedded in real estate that go all the way back to, quite frankly, the early days of the United States of America. And there is something very unique about the United States of America and very special about the United States of America when it comes to real estate investing, and why it tends to be a wealth creation mechanism, and we'll talk in full depth about that. But before we do that, I really want to kind of dig in a little bit and dig in a little bit deeper on our homework assignments for last night. And again, I want to really say to everybody who's taking this class, please join the Facebook group. Please join the Facebook group, and let me tell you why. So real quick, I'm going to switch over. So I'm going to stop sharing the main screen, and I'm going to start sharing my Facebook screen, and I want to share with you what's happened in just the last 24 hours. So if I go into the Facebook group, which I think this is, yes, boom, oh yeah, nope, that's not it. Let me do this, because that's my page, not the Facebook page. Can you guys see this okay? Give me a thumbs up if you can see this okay. All right, great. And also feel free to type it in the chat box if you can see it okay. So here we are in specifically the 21 Days to Real Estate Riches Facebook page. And again, my screen looks a little bit different from your screen because I'm an admin. But otherwise, we should be seeing kind of sort of the same sorts of things. And one of the first things I want to tell you is if I allow you to post anywhere you want and post anything you want, we're going to have a train wreck on our hands pretty quickly. Who here wants to have a train wreck on your hands? I don't. So as an example, and Martinez, you know I love you, and you're not the only one. But notice, we got Martinez posting here. We got Shiva posting here, and Carlos posting here, and Lorenzo posting here. This is, guys, this is only the first day. And folks are posting just about anywhere and everywhere they want. And I can't have you do that. You guys see this? It says Sherman Ragland admin. Can you guys see that okay? You guys see that okay? Do I need to blow it up? Give me a thumbs up. You say thank you, thank you. And notice what it says. Please post your completed daily task, your aha moment from today's lesson. Where? Here. There's a reason for that. Because if I am looking to comment and assist and coach and mentor, and I'm coaching and mentoring on the homework from the night before or a topic from the day before, I'm going to go to day one to do the day one mentoring. Then I'm going to go to day two. And as I mentioned yesterday in our quick start session, every single day, we're going to add a new element in that's going to help you get closer to your goal of getting that first deal done in the next 21 days. And in order for us to have a process that has any hope whatsoever of being successful, I need folks to post your lessons in the box, turn in your homework in the box where it should be placed. Now, granted, it's our second day together. Folks didn't quite understand this together. I get it. So I'm not chastising anybody. And if everybody's feeling like Sherman's being really mean to me, I'm not. Trust me, you'll know when I'm being mean to you. I'm not being mean. But we do need to make sure we post our assignments in the place where it's asked for. So here's the deal. All of you guys, and kudos for turning in your assignments, but all of you guys, Jesse and Trish and Lorenzo and Trish and Lorenzo and Carlos, and let me see, anybody, okay, and Martinez. I need for you to download or copy or paste or whatever, but I need for you to move your homework into the appropriate place, which is where it says day one homework, please post it here. I need you to put it here. Just click the comments. And then once you get to the comments, you can click the camera to upload a photo and then write your comment. But I need for you to put it here because tonight at midnight or before, if I wind up going to bed early, I'm going to delete all of these. All of these are, anything that's not where it's supposed to be is going to get deleted. So you can do it now as I'm speaking. You don't necessarily have to do it now. I'm gonna give you a couple more hours. But in the future, as in starting after 12:01 midnight tonight / going into tomorrow, anybody who posts their homework in the wrong place, I am going to delete it and I won't even read it. There will be a place to post your homework and it'll say something along the lines of day 2, please post your homework aha moment, just like day 1 said. And that way, anybody who misses a day, anybody who joins us late, anybody who wants to keep up, they can go to the appropriate section to see what happened, not only on that day's video, but also that day's homework assignment. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a second. Does everybody understand what I just said? Great. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. So that's kind of the first thing I want to go over before I actually delve into the homework. Please, please, please make sure that it gets posted in the right place. Okay. And apparently we got some more folks who want to join us. So hang on a second while I let some more folks in the room. Boom. All right. So that's the first thing that we need to discuss. First thing we need to talk about. Please post it in the right place. Now, having said that, let's look at some of these homework assignments. And some of you will notice I commented directly and completely and comprehensively on those homework assignments that were already turned in. And I blocked out time this morning from roughly, I think it was roughly about 6 or 7 o'clock this morning till about 10 o'clock, just to go in and comment and critique on the homework assignment. If you did not have the benefit of having me comment, and I attempted to comment on every single one and say something about every single one. If you did not have a comment from me, it's really for one reason only. It wasn't there before 10 o'clock. And I get it, and I understand, and again, I'm not chastising anybody. Some of you guys were not admitted into the Facebook group until later on in the afternoon. Facebook was a little glitchy. So a lot of people had applied to get in, but I hadn't seen it. But fortunately, you guys did what you were supposed to do, which is go to Need Help, Ask Lisa, or call the office. And we went in and we were able to work with Facebook and get the glitch resolved. And so automatically, boom, all of a sudden 40, 50 people got admitted into the group. And many of you guys posted after you got admitted. I get it. Don't worry about it. Again, I'm not chastising you. But starting at 12:01 a.m. tomorrow morning, please make sure that your homework assignments are posted in the appropriate place, because first thing in the morning, I'm going to be going through probably tomorrow morning around 5 o'clock, because I have a meeting at 7:30. So I'm going to be going to probably around 5 o'clock, and again, commenting and critiquing and coaching and mentoring based on what you post in the Facebook group. So let's take a look at some of the ones that we had. So we have something from Diane Smith. Talks about her aha moment was Howard talking about getting heard, and you see I liked it, and I don't think I commented on that one. Franco said his aha was Find Your Drive, and I liked it. Lorenzo talked about his aha moment. So again, everybody's posting, and as they're posting, I'm coming back through and I am commenting. So let me see if I can find some of the ones where I actually did leave some comments. So here's one from AG, and the comment I gave, because they uploaded their homework, was, hey, look, starting tomorrow, can everybody see this okay? So this is their homework. Notice they've got the 21 days live, which is great. They've got the fill in the homework, that's great. But what was missing was their number one goal. In other words, what's the number one thing that you got to get done tomorrow or on that day that you're not going to go to sleep until it's done? And so my comment was, hey, starting tomorrow, when you start filling these out, please do not forget to address today's number one goal, number one question. And a lot of people saw this comment because a lot of people did not do it. So I did just sort of tell everybody, and again, very gracious, he said, will do. He said, will do, thank you. Here's one. I said the same thing for Erno, right? Again, they turned in their homework, and again, that top one was missing. So I said, same thing. Hey, make sure that you fill out that number one goal. Let's go along a little bit further. And by the way, I didn't really comment on the content. There's some people who had a lot of stuff. You know, Carl did complete that. He didn't have necessarily a lot of stuff. And I said, good job. He didn't have a lot of stuff. And then there were other people that really sort of filled the whole thing in. And I, for the most part, I didn't really comment about what you had listed for your goals for the day. And again, on this case, they didn't have the number one goal. So I did comment, I did feel free to comment on, hey, make sure you get that filled in. Here was an interesting one. Okay, here's one. Trinita said, are we only supposed to include real estate related items on our schedule? My schedule is full. And Dorothy was very quick to help her out and said, hey, you can include your entire full schedule. And she's correct. My expectation, whether you do it or not, listen, I'm here to coach, I'm here to mentor, I'm here to guide, I'm here to tell you how I do it, I'm here to tell you how I did it. You don't have to do it the way I do it. But if you don't do it the way I do it, don't be mad at me when you don't get the kind of results I get. And so one of the things that I do when I use this sheet is I put everything on there. Now, having said that, I messed up today, and I'm going to talk to you guys about my mess up. So hopefully you can learn from my mess up. But I recommend, as I said yesterday, and I'll say it again, I would like for you to print out 21 days worth of these sheets, and for the next 21 days, use this as a tool for getting control over how you are managing yourself with the 24 hours that you have. So my strong suggestion is let this be your primary tool, okay? So let's keep going. Ahas. Okay, here we go. I want to dissect Trinita's for a second because I think this is what I call a teachable moment. And hopefully you guys can see this okay. Can you guys see this okay? I'm gonna blow it up. Can everybody see this okay? Give me a thumbs up if you can see this okay. All right. And thank you, Trinita, for letting me take your example. So here Trinita has her number one goal is to finish the hall closet. And then she has what she plans to do during the day, right? She's got the 21-day course, which I think she means class. So you got the 21-day homework, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So really good job filling this out. But one of the comments I made to Trinita was, if this is your number one goal, finish the hall closet, I look at her schedule, and the first thing I'm looking for when I look at her schedule is where does it say finish hall closet? Because like if it's your number one goal, shouldn't I see it on your schedule somewhere? How many people agree that I should be able to see this on your schedule somewhere if this is your most important goal? So when I looked at her schedule, guess what I found? Closet organization right here. And then look what I find down here, closet organization, 2:30 and 6 o'clock. And I got a bunch of stuff in between. So when I saw that, what I said to Trinita, which is the exact same thing I would say to you guys, if you can see this okay, Trinita, if you believe that finishing the hall closet is the most important thing, then blocking out one solid block of time might be better than squeezing it into the schedule. And I told you guys yesterday, I have been in the aviation business going on almost 27 years. So I will very frequently through this class and many other classes use aviation metaphors and aviation examples because I think it's a good way to try to succinctly explain stuff. Aviation people are extremely efficient. You guys understand that? If I'm flying from DC to Chicago, I'm going to be in the most efficient path possible, unless of course I'm Southwest. And then I might fly to Tennessee and then to Chicago. But for the most part, I'm going to be as efficient as possible because that's how you make money in the aviation business. So I said, Trinita, if you believe it's finishing the hall closet the most important thing, then blocking out one solid block of time might be better than squeezing it into your schedule. In the world of aviation, the most important things the pilot has to do are take off and then land the plane safely. The reason everyone is strapped in and their seats, should be strapped into their seats during these periods of time is to minimize interruptions to the process. Somebody's about to have an aha moment. I hope you guys are prepared to write this down, and I hope you brought your aha sheets with you. By breaking up the most important task of your day, you are acting as a co-pilot who gets up and goes to the bathroom as the plane is halfway down the runway. Has anybody ever been in a plane and the pilot says, take your seats, we're cleared for takeoff, and the cockpit door opens and the co-pilot walks out to go to the bathroom? Anybody ever been in a plane and that's happened? I haven't. I've never been in that situation. You know what I would think if that happened? Get me out of here. Like, what is more important than safely getting the plane in the air? And what is more important than safely getting the plane landed? And I kind of expect that the pilot's going to have his full attention. And the reason why they strap people into the seats at takeoff and strap people into the seats at landing is the pilot doesn't want any distractions while he's dealing with the two most important parts of the job. Does that make sense to everybody? Does that make sense to anybody other than me? Give me a thumbs up if it makes sense to you. All right. So if your most important thing during the day is at the top of your sheet, then your schedule should reflect it. And that's what I was sharing with Trinita. Okay. And I would share the exact same things with you guys. If you allow me the opportunity to coach and mentor you over the next 21 days, and you allow me the opportunity to do so because you are committed to your success and the success of others, and you actually do take this task seriously as you should, and upload your homework and let me look at it, I'm going to begin to share some suggestions with you that go well beyond real estate. And as I said yesterday, I'm going to give everybody here a copy of my program called The Magic of Getting Things Done. But I'm telling you, there's no such thing as time management. It doesn't exist. And I'm not going to like spend too much more of tonight's session because today is about real estate. But if we don't get this part of the 21-day program down and understanding that we have to be extremely efficient with our time if we're going to get something done in as little as 21 days, we need to take seriously this exercise of talking about how we're spending our day. And if you will allow me the benefit and the opportunity to serve as your mentor and your coach, then one of the things I'm going to do when I look at your schedule is point out little things here and there that I'm like, you know what, if you just sort of like maybe tweak this one thing, you may realize that you got stuff done in half the time, which means you now got time back. If you take the most important thing that you do during the day and solely focus on that one thing and allow the appropriate amount of time, you'll probably get it done in half the amount of time. But on the other hand, if you allow other things to interrupt your schedule and interrupt the most important thing, you are no different than the pilot who, while in the middle of landing the plane, is suddenly told by the control tower, oh, we're sorry, but there's a tractor trailer at the end of the runway who was supposed to be out of there this morning and he hasn't moved. You're going to have to do a flyby and go around. And you guys tell me, I don't know how many flyers we have here or non-flyers we have. Have you ever been on an airplane that was ready to land and all of a sudden they had to take off and go all the way around again? Generally speaking, when they're landing the plane, it's a 15-minute exercise from the time the pilot says we're in for final approach, and you're on the ground and you're getting off, going to get your bags at the conveyor belt. But when the pilot has to all of a sudden pop back up because there's some kind of an obstruction, somebody didn't move out of the way fast enough, something's wrong, and they have to go all the way around. Like, number one, it's kind of jolting, but it's, you know, if you've ever been through, you're like, you know, okay, that's kind of jolting, but you kind of know what's going on. But how much time does the pilot now have to take to land the plane? 20 minutes? 30 minutes? Go all the way back around, get at the back of the line with all those other planes coming in for a landing and start all over again? Aviation, as an example, that's exactly what you do when you are attempting to do a task and you allow the task to be interrupted. Mentally, you have to go all the way back around and start that whole process again. Sometimes that happens by accident, but it should never happen by design. And so my little critique of Trinita's schedule, my little suggestion for Trinita's schedule, which I would say to any one of you guys, is if it's the most important task of the day, then give it the appropriate block of time that it deserves, and don't let it be broken up. Closet organization, couple things in between. Don't let that happen. Because mentally, first of all, you gotta stop the process before you get here, because like now all of a sudden you're thinking about this, and then you gotta restart the process when you get here. And as a direct result of that, she may not get that task done tonight. Now, here's what Trinita's response was. Sherman, good point. I usually do that kind of task late at night so that I am the subject of less interruptions. I'll go back to blocking for this type of task today. Here's my whole point about you guys posting information. I'm coaching Trinita in real time at somewhere around, I think this whole conversation took place, well, it says 9 hours ago, 11 hours ago. So what was 11 hours ago? 6 o'clock this morning? 8 o'clock this morning? I'm coaching her in real time at 8 o'clock in the morning. You guys, if you just sort of figure out what's going on here, you get the benefit of coming into this section, right? This section here that's labeled day one homework right here. And you get the benefit of just sort of scrolling through and going, okay, here's what somebody put. Oh, look, wait, Sherman made a comment. Let me see what he's talking about. Oh, look, wait. Sherman's got a big comment. Let me see what he's talking about. And you get the benefit of watching me coach somebody else, and you get the benefit to learn from it. Anybody here kind of like that idea of watching me critique somebody else and learning from it? Anybody? See, this, quite frankly, is one of the reasons why I love group coaching, because maybe you don't have that question, or you don't have that issue, or you don't have that problem, but maybe somebody else in the group does. And when I take time out to coach, mentor them, you're like, oh, yeah. I was thinking about that, but I didn't ask about it. This Facebook group and this process is for the benefit of everybody. Again, when it's all said and done, and we're using Facebook just simply because Facebook is a better tool for posting this stuff and working on this stuff in real time. When this is all over, we're going to push all this stuff over into REIU, and the Facebook page goes away. But you're in the class now. Take advantage of what we're doing now, because now's the time to absorb this information and see if we can get a deal done in the next 21 days. And even better than that, get it done in such a way that we can put it on autopilot. Okay, so let me just keep on going a little bit further, make a couple other points, and then we'll get back to the lesson for today. All right, so here's Franco. And once again, I said Frank to Franco, same thing I said to everybody else. You know, don't forget to put that #1 goal at the top, right? And again, if you put a #1 goal here at the top, I better see it in your schedule, okay? Some of these other ones, I just liked them. I didn't really comment on them. I wasn't going to talk about this. There's the only one where I could put it angry. Guys, do me a favor, and I'm going to scroll through that real quick so you don't see it. Do me a favor. Do not introduce anybody else's course material into our lesson. And if you feel so compelled that you want to take something I've given you and retype it, redo it, don't do that either. Just, guys, stick to the script. Stick to the script. If I hand you a tool, use the tool, upload it, don't change it, don't modify it, don't bring other stuff to the table, okay? Can I get a thumbs up, please? Yes? Okay, thank you, appreciate that. All right, keep moving along. Boop. All right, let me see here. Same comment to Sheila. Dole says this assignment was about your schedule for Tuesday. Oh, this is for me too, Dole. So when I look at this one, what I saw was Monday, just got home, dinner, 21 days, which says to me all the person did was use it as a diary, as opposed to what it's designed for, which is a planning tool. This is not about what this side of the paper is not about what you did today. You guys with me? This side of the paper is not about what you did. This side of the paper, you do the night before, the week before, and this talks about what you're going to do tomorrow. Okay? Now, the opposite side of the paper where it's blank, it's okay to use it like a diary and put what you did. So here's what I said. This assignment was about your schedule for Tuesday. In other words, what your plan is for the following day. This daily planning guide is prospective. However, you can use the back side, why we leave it blank, to make notes on what actually did happen in your day. This is a good tool for giving yourself feedback and making changes for the future, like the next day, the next week, the next month. And then I went on to say, also starting tomorrow, when you start filling them out, not filing them out, please do not forget to address the #1 goal. And the response I got was, okay, got it. Great. And by the way, that's what I'm looking for. If I say something and it's sort of corrective, don't take it like I'm beating up on you. You know, just give me okay, I didn't understand the assignment. I got it now. We're cool. Give me the thumbs up. Okay. All right. Excuse me. Pardon me. Same thing here for Rebecca. Also, if work requires something specific, okay. So on this one, I want to pick on Rebecca for a second, only lightly. And can you guys see this? Okay. Yes. Give me a thumbs up. So Rebecca had get up, shower, dress, and then work, lunch, work. And one of the things that you guys are going to see as we get closer to the 3rd week and we start talking about automation, and this is what I said to Rebecca, work, I'm sure, involves a specific task for the day, and the specific task for the day probably involved 2 or 3 very discrete tasks necessary to get that one big task done. And so what I said to her was this, Rebecca, starting tomorrow, you don't forget number 1. Also, if work requires getting something specific done by specific dates, then feel free to be more specific as opposed to just writing work. And she said, thank you so much for the feedback. I completely missed the number 1 goal. Work is my current full-time job, so that will be listed on my calendar every day except for the holiday Monday. In the case study, a statement was made, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't know how you would do this working full-time. This was a little discouraging for me, but it's something I really want to learn so I can transition out of my full-time job. So here's the deal. And I think I wrote even some more. Yeah, okay, you're very welcome. The way you transition out of a full-time job is learning how to delegate. And if I were the pilot, again, here I am using that aviation metaphor. If I were a pilot, I can't delegate, fly the passengers to San Diego. Everybody see that? In other words, if I just write work, that's like a pilot writing fly to San Diego. Well, flying to San Diego has some very specific tasks, doesn't it? Like take off, fly, land. And there's certain things that are happening in the cabin while I'm flying, doesn't it? So if I break down the big task into separate tasks, and then oftentimes can break down the separate task into more separate tasks, I can look at that sheet and go, you know what? During this part of the trip to San Diego, I don't need to be doing this. I can hand this over to my co-pilot. And I was up late last night and I want to find an extra hour to snooze. When I get into the cockpit and we're running through our checklist as a pilot, I'm going to say to my co-pilot, hey, listen, as soon as we get up and over and out of airspace around Dulles and hit West Virginia onto Ohio, I'm going to go back in the first class section. I'm going to grab an empty chair and I'm going to go to sleep. And I'm going to hand over to you the flight control from Ohio to Colorado. See, if I break it down into a separate task, I can look at it and go, you know what? I don't have to do this. I can get somebody else on my team to do this. I can get somebody else on my staff to do this. And when you start the process of breaking things down into the component parts and writing them down, you very quickly realize that during the course of the day, there are things that can be done by somebody other than you. And if there are things that can be done by somebody other than you, then you're literally on the first step to automating your business. But if all you do is write down work, find houses, right? Then it's really hard to know what can I delegate and what do I have to hang on to myself. So that's what I was basically saying to Rebecca, okay? First step towards freedom is to identify what needs to be done, break it down, then delegate those tasks on your plate or on my plate to responsible parties and make sure that they get done. Listen, if you delegate something to somebody, you still are responsible for making sure it got done. If you don't identify these discrete steps, this is the discrete steps, you'll have a difficult time delegating. And again, I know this is not a course or a class on time management, and so I'm not going to spend much more time on this. And I'm going to give you guys a copy of my Magic of Getting Things Done course at the end. That is, those of you who stick with me to the end. It's a bonus. But we need to start early on, like day one, understanding this process of getting control of what happens during our day by writing stuff down. Because that's how we find extra time. That's how we find freedom. So again, if you will allow me the benefit of doing these assignments to the best of your ability, and then allow me the ability and the freedom to be your mentor and your coach, I'll look at what you hand in, even if it's at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'll make a couple of suggestions here and there that could, quite frankly, change your whole day. Just saying. That's my expectation. All right, so a couple more aha moments. I'm not going to go through these, but I encourage you guys to go through the day one assignment and read other people's aha moments and see if you came up with the same aha moments. I got 1 or 2 more things, and then we're going to bounce out of here. MJ, my friend, are you here? Where are you, MJ? If you're here, give me a thumbs up, wave. There you are. Hey, MJ. MJ, you did this, and a couple other people did this, and I'm just pointing this out. MJ has earned the designation Real Investor, And some of the Diamond members who are going through this also use the moniker Real Investor or Level 4 Real Investor. Please, 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 I'm going to go back to the comment I gave MJ, and this is for everybody, if appropriate. So again, you have to earn the designation, use the designation. But I say, hey, MJ, when you use the word Real Investor, please make sure that you use that registered trademark symbol. And MJ, I also said I will be deleting this later. Also, please make sure you use the I think the reason why I said I was going to delete it is because, why did I say that? I don't know why I said I was going to delete it. I thought it was in the wrong place, so I'm not going to delete. Oh, you said good morning. You're like, Sherman, how in the world could you delete good morning? Guys, if it doesn't have anything to do with the lesson, guess what? It's out of here. So any daily affirmations, memes, hey, how you doing? Hey, I love you. Nuh-uh. There will be a point and a place and a time to post those kinds of things. But when I say, please post your homework in this section, all I want to see in that section is homework. Got it? Can I see a thumbs up? All right. So MJ, the reason why I said I was going to delete it, I'm not going to delete everything you put in there, but I am going to delete this good morning. Right? And so I wanted to make sure you knew that before I did it. And well, no, I don't want to block you. God, that's awfully mean. I'm just going to remove the comment. Okay. All right. So again, reason I'm deleting that particular thing is because, again, I just want to see your homework, but your homework is still there. And again, MJ, excuse me, and anybody else who uses the term Real Investor, please make sure you use that registered trademark symbol behind it, because Real Investor is a registered trademark and you have the ability to use it through our permission to do so. Karina says that's the name of my LLC. Okay, cool. I'm not sure what the comment was on. Oh, I see. In her thing, she put community home buyers. I get it. But the question is, your number one goal, you will not go to sleep until you have community home buyers. I'm not sure what that means. So maybe that means you want to have that registered as an LLC with the state of Maryland. That's cool. Look, and by the way, as long as you know what it means, I'm cool with it. But that should be a task. And if the task, again, if the task is at the very top, like it's the number one thing, then somewhere in here, I want to find that you've set aside time to do it. So I see Community Home Buyers LLC, but I don't see anything in here that talks about forming an LLC. So in other words, if that's your number one goal, where did you allot time to get it done? So there's a little bit of a disconnect. So that's what I was actually commenting on. Okay. Okay, just comment to Joe. MJ says, can homework be posted as a PDF or a picture? It doesn't really matter. Look, as long as you get it done, as long as you get her done, whatever it is that helps you to get it done, that's all that matters. Camilla said, why is the most important thing of the day finding one address? And I said, thanks for asking. I want to find more than one, and I have list can work with. No, this is her comment to me. Oh, okay. So in Camilla, so my comment to Camilla was this. In her most important thing of the day, she said, find one address to send letter and homework. And so my comment to her was, why is finding one address the most important thing of the day? And she says, thanks for asking. I want to find more than one, and I have lists can work with now, but since I have been focusing on one, thinking if I can get in the habit of doing at least one, it'll help me get back on track. So, you know, again, my major critique, and I did this with a number of people, was asking the question why. And for the most part, there's no right or wrong answer, except when somebody was saying something along the lines of, I'm going to do this thing and this thing's the most important thing, I think the first question everybody should ask themselves is why? Why am I doing this? And this, again, becomes even more important when we get to the point of talking about putting your business on autopilot. A lot of people attempt to delegate or automate something that, quite frankly, they shouldn't be doing, and they shouldn't be paying somebody else to do either. So don't be surprised if throughout the next 21 days, I repeatedly ask the question, why is that important? Why are you doing that? Why is that there? If you got a good answer, give the answer. if on the other hand, your answer is, you know what, I don't really know why. I heard this on a lecture, I heard this on a webinar, I saw this on a YouTube video. Well, we need to talk about it. Because maybe you're doing some things with your schedule right here, right now, in this program, this 21-day program, that you really should not be doing right now. And all this wind up doing is becoming a distraction. We got 21 days together. Excuse me, we got 20 days together, folks. We don't need any distractions. We need to just focus on what we need to get done and get it done. Does that make sense? If it makes sense, give me a thumbs up. Yes? Okay, thank you. All right, so that's kind of the last comment, I think. And then we'll get into the course for tonight. Oh, I couldn't help this one. Pierre, is that crayon? Help me understand this. What is this? Are you here? If you're here, I'm giving you permission to unmute yourself and tell me what this is. Because that looks like a crayon. Come on, are you here? You're not here. All right. Or maybe.
Yes.
Okay, what is this? And I know what by the way, I know what the answer is, but go ahead and tell everybody anyway.
Okay, I used it, I took a picture of it. I was at work.
Yeah.
And on WhatsApp, I used the crayon just to draw and to make sure I did the homework. That's why.
Okay.
I didn't have the printout with me, so I just want to make sure I get it done on time.
That is the answer I want to hear. Give it up. Here. Okay, I got it. Here's what it looked like to me, and that's why I sort of called this one out. It looked like you took the digital version and used a digital marker of some type and sort of phoned it in. And the answer you gave is a much better explanation, much more thorough. But again, for you and for everybody else, and I'm not picking on you or chastising you, but I really want you guys to get the full benefit of using this tool. Print them out. Print them out, 3-hole punch them, and really let this be the driving force of how you do your schedule for the next 21 days. Think of it this way. Whatever tool you use, whatever process you use, what you have decided to do at the beginning of this session is audit your process for staying on track. And as an auditor, consider this as an audit sheet. Every single day, you're going to be thinking about what you're going to do that day the night before, write it down, and then as you go through your day, you're going to use the back side of the sheet, which is blank, to talk about what you did, which is going to help you become much more efficient at how you use the time you have. And more importantly, again, when we get into the section of the course in the 3rd week, talking about delegating and automating, you'll have a pretty good sense of, okay, here's what needs to be done, and then step back and go, okay, who needs to do it? Because that's the next part of this process. You got it on your schedule, but we got stuff on our schedule that A, doesn't need to be there at all, and B, we want to figure out what we can turn around and hand to somebody else, because every time we hand a task to somebody else, whatever amount of time we had in that schedule that we were going to do it, we just got that time back. That's how you get to wealth and freedom. When you are doing 10% of the work, but keeping 90% of the money. And how many people like that idea? Please give me a thumbs up. Okay. So I'm trying to indoctrinate you guys from the first day, from the first class, of capturing what you're doing so that as we build towards that segment on automation, it's not going to be such a huge leap for you. And those of you who are honestly and actually doing your homework, this is going to be a piece of cake by the time we get to the 3rd week. And those of you who are skipping this step in the process, you're going to struggle through the 3rd week, and you're going to struggle until you finally succumb to the fact that Sherman is right on this topic and you need to just do it. Okay? So we can either do this easy or we can do it hard. Doing what Sherman says to do when he says to do it is easy. Fighting Sherman every step of the way because you have some preconceived notion of, gee, that doesn't make sense to me, I'm not even going to try it, that's hard. Let's not do this hard. Okay? All right, keep them going, keep them going. I think that's it. Yeah, okay, well, I'm sorry. There's 17 more comments in the appropriate section, but I don't think I responded to them because most of these came in after 10 o'clock. That doesn't mean that it's not good stuff, and I would strongly recommend that you guys go in here and read some of the aha comments of some of your fellow members, and to the degree that there's stuff I commented on that I missed, also go in and look at it. And see if anything I said to the person that submitted their homework also speaks to you. Okay? Everybody got that? Thumbs up? Cool, thank you. All right, so now, getting back to the lecture for tonight, and I hope you guys have your AHA sheets. I'm also looking at some of the questions that you guys were typing in. Thank you for doing so. Yes, Nikki, by filling out those sheets, those daily tasks, you also prevent people from stealing your time. Because if you have a whole lot of blank spaces in there, or if you said, I'm going to do a certain task, and the reason why you didn't get the task done is because people came in and kind of knocked on your door, right? And said, excuse me, I know you're busy, but do you have a minute? Right? One of the things that we're all learning, by the way, I learned this a long time ago. One of the things that we're all learning by the COVID quarantine was like, we can really be so much more productive when we're not sitting in the car and we're not being interrupted. Has anybody figured that one out? Has productivity like gone through the roof, right? I got news for you. And by the way, I'm going to share with you my schedule in a second, and you're going to see this in my schedule. And I almost didn't put it in there. I'm like, you know, I'd put it in there. They need to know this stuff. I learned a long time ago that having an office in the office when you're the boss is the worst possible thing you could do. So those of you who've been around real investors for a long time, you may have occasionally said, well, where's Sherman's office? And everybody's like, you know, Lisa looks at you like, what do you mean? Sherman ain't got no office here. Or how come Sherman doesn't have voicemail in the system? I call the office and I can leave a message for Lisa and I can leave a message for Barbara in the accounting department. Well, how come I can't leave a message for Sherman? It's good to be the boss. Yeah, I have no voicemail. The only voicemail I have is on my cell phone, and even that's limited. Do you know that voicemail is a gift from the devil? It is from the pit of hell, right? I don't need no voicemail. I don't need no voicemail. I don't need no office. I don't have one. I have been working from my home office for years. In fact, when the pandemic hit and everybody had to like go home, me and the dog were like, who are these people in the house? Oh, that's my wife and daughter. Daggone it. They've discovered the secret. Now, do you guys really think I dress like this when I'm working from home? No. Oh my God, you can get so much more work done in your jammies and your feet up in front of the fireplace. Do you realize how beneficial and a beautiful thing that is? Some of you guys are because of, you know, the whole COVID thing. But my point in all that is saying, when you learn how to really sort of think through your day the night before, manage your day, you quickly realize, okay, whatever big task I have, I can break that into 3 parts. And then I can break that into 3 parts and possibly even break that into 3 parts. And you very quickly realize if I got a big task to do, maybe the smartest thing I could do is one big piece today, one big piece tomorrow, and one big piece of 3 days from now. Because if I do those 3 big pieces uninterrupted, I might actually get that big task done. But if I allow people to tear into my schedule and break into my thinking time, I'm never going to get stuff done. Anybody here when you were back in the office felt like, God, I'm never going to get this project done with all these freaking interruptions? And that's true. There's a reason why, even before 9/11, the pilot closed the door and you weren't allowed to come knock on the cockpit because they want to just get the job done without any interruption. We need to adopt that same philosophy, okay? All right, so let me answer a couple more questions and then we'll get to the quote unquote lecture for tonight. Steve says, can you show me how to post homework again? I will. I have a question that was not in the homework that was related to what you posted that wasn't visible. My homework is in the homework section. I'm not sure I understand that. So the person who submitted that, if you want to sort of clarify it, I'll do the best I can. How do I write my schedule if my working hours go beyond 10 p.m.? I'll show you how to do that in a second. I thought email was from the devil. It used to be before we had spam filters. And I apologize. I don't apologize, but I'm so sorry, Marcia. You had a death in the family, and I get it. By the way, anybody who's traveling, anybody who's having to do this from work, anybody who's having, you know, situations that you weren't expecting, please, please, please make sure that you are a part of the Facebook group so that you can watch the video. Last night, I posted the video live in my Facebook private page. and then I forwarded it to the group. What I found out is that when you do it that way, people don't always have access to the video. So today we're live streaming to the page, and therefore the video will live inside this page, inside this group. So therefore, as long as you have access to it, you can have access to the live recording, and you can watch it on your schedule. You can listen to it on your schedule. If you got to drive to New Jersey or drive around for work, whatever, you can at least be listening to it on your schedule as opposed to necessarily having to participate live. I want you to participate live. I want you to be here as a part of live. But if live can't happen because of certain situations and circumstances, if you're part of the Facebook group, you can still at least watch the recording of it, because right now and from this point forward, for the next 20 days, we'll be live streaming into the group. And therefore anybody who's in the group will have access to the video, okay? All right, so the question was, can I show you one more time how to post? And so one more time, tonight when we finish, there will be, pardon me for scrolling so fast, I'm not trying to make anybody dizzy. There will be something that says Day 2 homework. Please post your completed daily task and your aha moments from today's lesson here. And all you have to do is click comment, right? And you post and type whatever you want. And then if you want to actually upload because it's a picture, click the little camera icon, and you'll be able to upload from that device. Okay, that's how you do it. It really is that simple. And please, please, please resist the temptation to just post your stuff anywhere, because when you post your stuff anywhere, we have situations like this, where this is not tethered to the section that says post homework here, and it just winds up eating up the whole Facebook threads or Facebook page and creating just sort of a whole mess, right? I want all your stuff contained in the appropriate section. So it's going to say Day 2 homework, please post your completed tasks here. So anybody who didn't post within this thread, I will go through and at midnight start deleting these, and therefore it will no longer exist. And I apologize to you for doing it that way, but if I don't do it on Day 2, what do you think this is going to look like by the time we get to Day 21? An all-out train wreck, and we don't want an all-out train wreck. Everybody got that? Yes? You got it? Let me see a thumbs up. All right, so hopefully I answered that question. And I think that's it. All right, so let's get into the lecture for tonight. It's not long. By design, it's not long, because I knew I was going to spend, I thought I was going to spend a half an hour. Looks like I've almost spent an hour on the homework. So listen, if I just got through spending an hour on the homework, what do you think I'm going to do tomorrow? We're not going to go nearly as deep tomorrow, okay? But you will have a homework assignment tomorrow, and I hope that you get it uploaded as quickly as possible, okay? So back to the lecture, sharing the screen, and homework recap. Now, here's my daily task. Here's how I do it. Can you guys see this okay? You can see this okay? Give me a thumbs up. All right. I print it out. I have a 3-hole punch at home. So I 3-hole punch it. Boom, boom, boom. And I put it in a 1-inch binder. And when I'm traveling or getting in the car or moving around, which I'm doing less and less of these days, I carry it with me everywhere I go. And in this case, I just keep it by my computer or keep it by my iPad, whatever I'm working off of. Here's mine. Here's mine for today. My most important task, can you guys see it okay? Can you guys see that okay? I'm blowing it up a little bit. What does it say? Berwyn member survey and domain name. And that probably means nothing to anybody except me, and that's okay. It doesn't need to mean anything to anybody other than me. What does that mean? So I belong to a club, and I am the vice president of one of the committees. And I agreed last month to compile a survey in SurveyMonkey and get it to our membership. This past Wednesday was our general membership meeting, and tomorrow night is the executive committee meeting. It starts at 7. That's why we have moved the class back to 8, and thank you guys for allowing me to do so. And I'm going to bounce in, I'm going to bounce out and show, and I've already, by the way, I've already sent them the questions for the survey. I'm just simply going in and saying, hey, look, guys, the survey's done. If you have any other changes, you need to let me know here and now. Otherwise, I plan on pushing the send button tomorrow, which of course would be Thursday. I'm sorry. Again, this is what's going to take place tomorrow. So when I tell them I'm going to push the send button, that means Thursday. Now, if anybody here, let me see some faces real quick. Anybody here ever do a Survey Monkey survey? Yes. Anybody here ever do a Survey Monkey survey or any other kind of survey tool? What does that URL look like? It's kind of like a jumbled bowl of spaghetti, isn't it? surveymonkey.com/member blah 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 / blah 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 blah. Like it's impossible to remember. So what I generally do when I do surveys is I register a domain name just for the survey. So the domain name is berwynmembersurvey.com. And anybody who knows anything about internet stuff or domain name stuff knows it takes about a day or two for the internet to populate a name. So if I've got the survey done and the domain name pointing to the survey, I need to get that done before I go to sleep tonight. Because if I don't get this done today, guess what? It won't be ready in time for me to push the button on Thursday. Everybody get that? Let me see a thumbs up. All right. So for me, that's the #1 goal. Now, I've already done the survey and I've already registered the domain name, but I don't have the domain name pointing to the survey. This is going to take me all of maybe 5 minutes. But if I don't get it done by tomorrow and I push it off until Wednesday or Thursday, the domain name may not be pointing to the survey. And when people go to click the domain name or type in the domain name, it may take them someplace else. So it's kind of got to sort of be done tonight. No ifs, ands, or buts. Before my head hits that pillow, that's got to be done, even though the task itself is not that difficult. Does everybody see that? Everybody understand that? Give me a thumbs up if you understand that. Now, somewhere in my schedule, I better have blocked out some time to get that done. Well, here it is. Berwyn Survey, redirect domain name. That's what you see on my schedule. This is my actual schedule I do by hand. All right. What else do you see on my schedule? Okay, sit-ups. And I got in parentheses 31. I'm sorry, it says sit-ups. I have no idea why I said sit-ups. I know I meant push-ups. I don't do sit-ups. Sherman don't do sit-ups. But Sherman does do push-ups. And so typically first thing in the morning when I first get up, the first things I do is I go in my closet. I do a certain number of push-ups. I try to always do one more. So that's why it says 31. I try to do one more than I did the day before. And I notice that if I skip a day or skip a week or get sick or whatever, my ability to do a consistent number of push-ups falls back. So then I have to build all the way back up. So that's why that's on my schedule. Somebody asked the question, what happens if your schedule extends beyond what's on the paper? Well, technically I usually get up when the dog gets up, which is somewhere between 4:30 and 5:30 in the morning. But whatever time I do get up, that's the first thing I'm doing. Then I'm praying. And Bruno, my dog, has diabetes, so I have to give him insulin at 6:30. That's pretty consistent no matter what time I get up, no matter what time he gets up. If he gets up at 4:30 to go out, he goes out at 4:30, but he doesn't get fed till 6:30, right? Then I grab my coffee, right? Then I do my social media. I don't immediately jump into exercise or this is when I do this is my personal social. This is the Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever it is. I just sort of scroll through. It's sort of at my leisure, right? Then notice I blocked out from 8:30 to 10 o'clock to respond to people's homework, and that's what I did. Guess what happened at 10:01? Guess what happened at 10:01? I cut it off because that was the time I blocked out to do it. If I just simply said respond to homework and didn't put it on my schedule, you guys know I could spend the whole day doing homework and responding to your guys' homework. But quite frankly, that doesn't do you any good and doesn't do me any good, because if I did that all day long, I wouldn't get other stuff done. Later on tonight, first thing tomorrow morning, I'll go back through, and those that I didn't respond to today, I'll respond to them tomorrow. All right, and eventually everybody will have some kind of response from me. But I'm only allotting a certain amount of my time to do that task. And when the time is up, I'm done. I go on to the next thing. Next, workout. I worked out today on the tread, and I did. Notice I have a little asterisk next to 45. Why does Sherman have an asterisk next to 45? Because today was or is Tuesday, right? And normally in my schedule on Tuesdays, I work out for 60 minutes. But I also know I had a pretty full day, for me anyway. And if I work out for 60 minutes, I want to go take a nap for 30. And today was not a day to like go recover from my 60-minute workout. So today I only did a 45-minute workout. Then after I work out, then I get breakfast. And then notice after I breakfast, I have a shower and I chill. I chill. Like, let me ask a question. How many of you guys, in all seriousness, how many of you folks, guys, gals, everybody in between, how many of you guys in your schedule blocked out time for you? Show of hands. Do you guys realize if you're not blocking out time for you, you're not going to have time for you? And sooner or later, you know what your body's going to say? I'm done. You worked me hard for 12 hours. I'm done. Sorry, I can't go anymore. Be good to yourself. Give yourself some chill time in your schedule. What do you do during chill time? Whatever you want. You want to play on Facebook? Play on Facebook. You want to, watch a little TV? Watch a little TV. You want to take a nap? Take a nap if you know how to do a power nap. You guys know the difference between a power nap and like going to sleep? It's like 10 minutes. You take a nap and you're down for 30 minutes, forget about it. Game over. You're in REM sleep. But if you have the ability, like I say to my wife sometimes, because like she has a hard stop. I probably shouldn't tell her business in the street. But every single day she has a hard stop, certain time of the day, which I never realized. But now that we're sort of working, I got my office upstairs, she's got her office downstairs. And I've noticed, okay, certain times she does a hard stop. And I'm still going like the Energizer Bunny. And she's like, how can you keep on going? Like, because I took a 15-minute nap at 3 o'clock. She says, I can't do that. If I take a 15-minute nap, it's going to be a 20-minute nap, it's going to be an hour, and I'm going to be up all night, and I'm going to be totally out of whack. That's just how she's wired. Me, if I grab 10 minutes on a lazy boy or 5 minutes here or 10 minutes, as long as I don't go past 15 minutes, it's all I need to re-energize, and I can go for another couple of hours and keep going until midnight. That's me. But that doesn't happen unless you program it into your schedule. Whatever it is that you want to do, put it on the schedule. Put some me time on your schedule. All right, so after I chill and I do my Amazon order, because I'm Amazon ordering for me, it's just for me, it's personal stuff. I get on Amazon and look at that, right? Then I'm going to do my survey, which, oh, by the way, I did not do. So I still got to get that done before I go to bed tonight. By the way, that's why you have this before I go, because you may have it on your schedule, but something might blow up your schedule, but it's still got to get done. And that's just a gentle reminder. Yeah, I know you said you're going to do it. And I know you said you're going to do it at 12 o'clock and you didn't. You ain't going to sleep tonight until you get it done because it's got to get done. That's what that means, okay? Then I had some other stuff in here, but then guess what? Oh, shucks. I did this without consulting with my schedule on my iPad/iPhone/MacBook. And today, I was supposed to have a mini mastermind with my VIP level coaching group, and I totally forgot about it, and it wasn't on my schedule. So at 5 minutes after 1, a couple of my mastermind members are texting me going, where are you? Oh! Now, somebody asked the question, if I put my real estate stuff on this calendar, is it okay to keep my other stuff on the other calendar? And the answer to that is no. Put everything on your schedule on one calendar. And for the next 21 days, this paper process, that's it. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking to you guys and I'm not showing you the screen. Duh. Sorry. So now we got to do this all again so you can actually see it. So in about a split second, you'll actually be able to see it. And I'll kind of walk you through it again. The beauties of Zoom. User error. Okay, so you can see it now. Give me a thumbs up. Yes? Okay, so what I was saying is up top here, I've got the most important thing, and then I put time in my schedule to get it done, but I didn't actually get it done, right? And so I still have to get this done before I go to bed tonight. That was point number 1. Point number 2 was I failed to consult with my regular schedule, what I normally carry around, which is the synced up calendar that's shared between it's in the cloud, but it's shared between my iPhone, my iPad, and my laptop or my MacBook. And I forgot to consult with that before putting this schedule together on paper. And therefore I had something here when there was already something on my calendar. So I had to quickly scratch it out, put this in. And oh, by the way, we had a fantastic mastermind. And I'm gonna get an amen from Diane and Dee. But we had a fantastic mastermind. But yes, I forgot because I didn't put it on the paper calendar. And for the next 21 days, this is my calendar. So I need to make sure I consult with my paper calendar, excuse me, my regular calendar, and get what I need to get on here. All right, then prep for tonight, which I did. Send out the handouts, which I did. Here we are doing the class, which we're doing. And then I got to upload, and then I'm going to upload your homework assignment, which is going to be really easy tonight. And then I'm still not done because tomorrow morning at 7:30, I'm the chairman of the Economic Development Committee. So I got to go through the EDC packet before the meeting tomorrow. And I need to review, I've got a meeting tomorrow at 10 o'clock. And I got to review my slides tomorrow. All right. Now, going back over here, it says phone calls to make, which, oh, by the way, shows you how archaic this is. What it really needs to say is phone calls / text / email. In other words, the most important things I need to follow up on via communication today. So there was a text to Andrew about the 10 o'clock hotel meeting tomorrow, which did go out and he did respond. So one of the things that I did was I scratched it out. One of the things that I like to do, and you guys can do it your way, but when I go to, before I go to bed tonight, I'm gonna scratch through all the things that I actually got done. I will scratch through all the things I got done, and guess what? If there's something that's still on that calendar, that daily tracking sheet that I haven't gotten done, what do you think I'm gonna do with it? I'm gonna find some time tomorrow or the next day or the next day. I'm gonna carry it forward into a future day. So here we go, email executive committee. So this is my meeting tomorrow, and I gotta email these guys tonight and tell them, hey guys, I got a hard stop at 7:59 tomorrow because I'm gonna be with you guys at 8 o'clock. And this is just a gentle reminder to me, make sure you email these guys so that when we roll up on 7:59 and they're like, where's Sherman going? Everybody be like, didn't you get his email last night? Didn't you get his email yesterday saying he's out of here at 7:59? So whatever it is Sherman's got due as an assignment for our group, we better hear from Sherman before 7:59 because he's out of here at 7:59. Email a reminder. So I got a meeting tomorrow with a group of people to talk about a hotel deal in Baltimore. And I'm the one who set the Zoom link, set the Zoom meeting. So I got to remind everybody and send the Zoom link one more time. So that's got to go out. Amazon order. I had some stuff, some vitamins and stuff that I take, and I'd run out. Right, so I put a little note here. Don't forget to place your Amazon order, and it's also on my schedule. See, 11:30, and that actually did get done. So it's scratched out. Then planning ideas, and this is one of the areas that a lot of folks didn't quite grasp. 10 o'clock tomorrow, I got a meeting. Well, if I got a meeting tomorrow at 10, shouldn't I prep for it? So even though the meeting is tomorrow, I want to do a little prep for it today. Oh, one of the things I noticed, again, I probably need to update this form, and instead of calling it phone calls to make, I should probably say phone calls, text messages, email. So look, here's a little star. Hey, update the daily tasks to include text, email, phone. See? A little note to myself to update this form. All thing is, as I was going through, I noticed, hey, you know what? I think you guys could benefit from some of the other stuff that's in the magic of getting things done. So I'm going to take a look at it. Now, again, this planning, this is stuff I want to do in the future, but I don't have a specific day or time I want to get it done. It's just a gentle reminder to myself, hey, you want to take a look at it. You know what happens once I put this on a piece of paper? I don't have to think about it anymore. I don't have to worry about it anymore. I don't have to use any more mental capacity on that topic. It's on the piece of paper. I'll be looking at the piece of paper a half dozen times during the course of the day. And before my head hits the pillow at night, I'll be going through and scratching stuff off that I got done. And anything that's left over, I'll find a spot for it someday in the future, probably sooner rather than later. Okay. Marketing for the 2021 apprentice class that's coming up soon. So you guys know we got the apprentice class coming up at the end of February. I need to start sending out announcements. Do I need to do it today? No. Do I need to do it tomorrow? Not necessarily. But at some point in time, I want to make sure I don't forget to do that. That's why it's on here under the category of planning and ideas. As I was preparing the lesson plan for tonight, I noticed I was grabbing some stuff from another program I did called Wealth We Can. So I made a little note to myself, hey, grab that template for tomorrow's class. I'm going to grab a template and use that as a part of the teaching exercise. So again, a little star, a little asterisk, right? We have a standing staff meeting every Wednesday at 2 o'clock at Real Investors. So a little note here, make sure, because there's a couple of people who need checks. Christian, my contractor, and David, my son, have been bugging me about when are they going to get their checks. So So I need to make sure when we go to staff meeting tomorrow, I'm asking about the check so I can get them signed and out the door. And I need to make sure that the staff understands, hey, we got the apprentice class coming up at the end of February. Let's make sure that we're all on board with what we need to make that successful. That's what my calendar looks like. Got it? Does that help? Is that helpful? Can I get a thumbs up? All right. Now, I carry that around in my 3-ring binder. And let me zoom out a little bit. Come on now. So I carry that around in my 3-ring binder, right? So that it's handy. And I literally have 21 days worth of these because I'm doing a 21-day audit like you guys. Do I always use the paper? No. I don't always use this paper. But when I'm doing something new, when I feel like I need to recalibrate, when I feel like my life is quote unquote spinning out of control, I'm like, you know what? Why don't you just do a little 21-day audit to see what you're doing with your schedule, see what you're doing with your time, and see if you can make some tweaks and some changes. And every time I learned this technique, I learned this trick when I was a freshman in college. I literally went to a leadership class. Actually, it wasn't freshman, it was sophomore year. I was what they call an RA, which are the folks that are responsible for the dormitory. And one of the leadership classes, one of the people said, this is one of the most effective time, that's what they call it, a time management tool they've ever had. And no matter what changes have happened over the decades since, because you're talking about when I was like 19, 20 years old, and I ain't 19, 20 years old anymore. I have consistently found that when I use this system, this simple tool, the simple process, my life clicks and gets in sync. And anytime I stray too far away from this, I find like stuff is out of control. People are interrupting me. I'm not getting stuff done. And I just feel like I'm not in control of the process. You don't have to use this tool, but I've been using this tool for gosh, darn near 38 years. That's a long time, folks. And I consistently go back to it. If you were to look in my book, you would see on the back side, here's my notes. You want to see my notes? It says here, hello. Go through the magic getting things done, see if anything worth incorporating into the week number 2 of the 21-day program. That's a note to myself. So a little more embellishment on the little teeny note on the previous page. Well, if we can, pull the template for getting houses, nothing down, add it to the day 3 or day 4 lesson. Talk about 17007 Village Drive, which was a nothing down deal that I did, and talk about how Dave and Neil found the deal and used their testimonial as a case study. A little note to myself of what I want to do in the next couple of days. Anybody here getting this? Understanding how powerful this tool can be if you use it properly and if you actually use it. And then here's a little skeleton frame of what's going to happen tomorrow, right? And it's not completely filled out. Well, why is it not completely filled out? Because today's not over. And there may be some stuff that I didn't get done today that I want to push over into tomorrow. But before I go to sleep, this will be done. Notice it says here, Berwyn Executive Committee, survey, talk about the survey, 7 o'clock. And then here we are doing our 21-day class tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, and then upload the homework. Those things I know I need to get done tomorrow, they're in here. You're like, Sherman, you don't have the most important thing. Because I haven't decided what the most important thing is for tomorrow. But before tomorrow starts, that will be filled in. Got it? Everybody getting this? Give me a thumbs up if you're getting this. So my suggestions, and I've already talked about it, please place it in the correct page. By the way, do not private message me about your homework. I literally had a couple of people try to private message me through Facebook saying, Sherman, you need to know X. Guys, I don't even have private messenger installed on my phone. I see it on the computer, and I normally don't get to the computer until I get to that block of time where it's like, okay, prepare for tonight's assignment. So here we go. I didn't even see your whoever private messaged me, I didn't even see it until 4 o'clock. And then when I'm getting ready for the lesson, I'm not doing internet stuff. Okay. So if you guys got a question of me, for me, please do it in the Facebook group, do it in the Facebook chat, do it through the Facebook group, because whatever you're asking me, other people in the group can benefit from. Okay. And I've already talked about these things. Do the dang homework, especially if you want private mentoring from me, because every morning I'm blocking out time to answer questions and address homework. And please do not private message me about your homework. Don't private message me about anything. I don't use private messenger in Facebook, guys. I just don't use it. Too many horror stories of people having their accounts hacked. I just ignore it. It's not even installed on my iPhone, and I don't think it's installed on my iPad. And those are the two primary tools I use during the course of the day. But again, most important thing, everyone benefits from seeing the comments, and you're not a team player when you attempt to circumvent the process. So don't circumvent the process. Post the homework in the Facebook group. Everybody got it? Let me see some heads nodding. Yeah. All right. Anybody got any questions for me? And I've now really seriously gone into overtime on this, but this process is so important. If you plan on finding some extra time during the day, carving out time of the day, and then ultimately delegating stuff and ultimately automating your business, learning how to get control of the situation, getting control of you, getting control of the tasks that need to be done, it is so critically important if you're going to grow a business. And I don't care what kind of business that is. Okay. All right. Now, back to the lecture. Somebody says they're having a little bit of anxiety because of the paper. Paper don't bite. It cuts. Just don't hold it a certain way. But paper don't bite. You got a much higher risk of electrocuting yourself on that iPhone or that iPad than you got, and that's almost zilch of the paper biting you and causing serious harm. All right, so back to my notes. And let me blow this up a little bit so we can see a little bit better. Okay, so here's where we are in our 21-day course. Why real estate? That's tonight's lecture. I'm not going to go very, very long, but I do want to go. If you got your AHA sheets out, this would probably be a good point in time. You might have a couple of ahas as we go through this tonight. Why real estate? Why real estate, and why get rich in real estate programs from some of the A&E stars don't work, but what actually does? Tonight, I'm going to talk about real estate and why real estate. Tomorrow, we'll get into the why the out-of-town gurus are intentionally ripping you off and you need to stop listening to them. But tonight, I just want to talk about what is so magical about this thing called real estate. And to do so, I need to give you a little brief history lesson, okay? America's first documented millionaire, who really sort of set the path that all others have followed since really the early days of the founding of our republic, is a guy named John Jacob Astor. John Jacob Astor. And John Jacob Astor was born in 1763 in Waldorf, Germany. And in 1784, right after the War of Independence, the Revolutionary War, he came to Baltimore with $25 in his pocket. $25. Now, look, $25 back in 1784 is a pretty good chunk of change. But it wasn't like he was really, 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 really rich. In fact, the story goes, he had worked with his brother in Germany who had a business selling musical instruments. And his job as the youngest brother was to come to America and help establish the music shop here in America. So he sailed and he landed in Baltimore, opened up a shop, and it didn't do very well. In fact, it failed. And so shortly thereafter, he moved to New York City and opened and worked with his not his oldest brother, because his oldest brother was back in Germany, but he worked with an older brother named Henry. And apparently they also had a falling out. And, you know, the story goes, and I actually have a copy of John Jacob Astor's biography, which is pretty generous with the facts. But the story goes, he was a pretty bullheaded, stubborn kind of guy, and a little bit ruthless. And so it doesn't surprise me that the stories are that, you know, he really sort of didn't get along with either brother. So one brother kicked him out of London and the other brother kicked him out of Baltimore. So he wound up going to New York. And when he got to New York, he opened up his own store a couple of years later, 1786. And the store actually was a trading store. He got out of the musical instruments business and got into trading. So furs, firearms, supplies, and he was pretty good at it. And he realized that, hey, if I really want to have really good margins, if I really want to make serious money, I kind of need to go to the source of where I'm getting this stuff. So he would travel to the upper Midwest, you know, north of Chicago, up near sort of the Chicago, Canada border, and he actually participated in some of the fur trapping himself. And wound up with some of the profits actually investing in buying some land as an outpost and a trading post. And he sort of like really had the whole sort of beginning to end, all the facets of distribution. So he paid the trappers and took possession of the pelts up in the sort of upper Illinois, Wisconsin area, close to the Canadian border. Then he brought it to New York, and then he put it on the ships, and then he sent the ships over to England, and then he ultimately wound up owning the ships. So he really became sort of the master of his own destiny. And that was sort of from the period 1786 up to about 1808. And then about 1808, he wound up merging all of his separate businesses under one umbrella. And then interesting enough, in 1830, he wound up selling everything. And anybody, you can put this in the chat box, anybody know what kind of was happening in America in about post 1808, 1812?
The capital.
Please put in the chat box. And no, it wasn't the capital. It was the War of 1812. And it was the war between the US and the British, where the British tried to reclaim the United States as a colony, and they kind of failed miserably. The War of 1812, of course, was the taking of a friend of Francis Scott Key, and the bombardment of Baltimore, and the writing of the Star Spangled Banner, Fort McHenry, and of course, yes, the burning of the Capitol, yes. And so war really kind of put a crimp on business. And so what happened was John Jacob Astor started thinking, well, maybe I need to diversify a little bit. And it was really during the period of the War of 1812 that he really started moving completely away from his business into other endeavors, something a little more permanent, something a little more solid. And by the time 1830 rolled around, he had already made a substantial number of investments in real estate. Most specifically, he wound up buying about 1/3 of the lower portion of Manhattan, mainly from the Dutch and also from the Indians that were still there, Native Americans that were still there. And so in 1830, he sold off the rest of his businesses and turned his full time and attention to real estate. And the most famous quote that was ever uttered was, somebody asked him, Mr. Astor, why in the world would you sell off your successful businesses and dump it? That's what they told him. He was dumping it into land in and around lower Manhattan, and it didn't look anything like it looks today. And he said, because they're not making any more of it. And that's one of the most famous real estate quotes of all time. I'm buying land because they're not making any more of it. And John Jacob Astor was quoted as having said, could I have begun life again knowing what I know now and had money to invest, I would buy every foot of land on the island of Manhattan. Well, he did pretty good. A lot of the famous properties in Manhattan are known as, Astor or Astoria. So the Waldorf Astoria comes from John Jacob Astor. Several generations of his family were the social elites and sort of controlled the social agenda. And he kind of became the man about town, and his descendants became persons about town, his wife, his daughter-in-law, et cetera, because of the wealth that he created through real estate. Now, interesting enough, he made his money outside of real estate, but when it came time to park his wealth, he intentionally chose real estate. And by the time 1830 rolled around, he had already been making investments in real estate since about the 1812s. Like, again, the turning point in his life, the reason why he started shifting towards real estate was he saw the damage that was caused to business because of the War of 1812, and said, I need to diversify out of having operating companies and put it into something a little more substantial, a little more solid. I need to park my money someplace before I have no more money left. And it was the war that really caused him to rethink his business strategy. Ultimately, he died 1848. He passed along a $20 million fortune to his son. That $20 million fortune today would be worth $648 million. So he wasn't quite billionaire status. And quite frankly, he wouldn't even make the Forbes 400 list today. But what John Jacob Astor gave to America and to Americans is the blueprint for how do you start off broke. And I shouldn't probably say broke, because $25 probably back in the 1700s probably was worth, maybe a couple thou. But he gave the blueprint for how do you start off with very little money and wind up dying a multimillionaire. That is John Jacob Astor's greatest gift to America, showing how to start with not too much, very little, and wind up retiring super filthy stinking rich. So ever since John Jacob Astor, people have been following this plan, this program. And ever since that first generation, and it says billionaire, and it really should say, sorry, multimillionaire, because that's truly what he was, not a billionaire, but close enough. Ever since the first generation American multimillionaire John Jacob Astor, people have followed the same path. And I was very, very fortunate, very blessed, in that when I graduated from Towson University in 1984, I was very successful. And again, I'll just be very plain. It was because I was able to manage my time, or manage myself around my time, better than a whole bunch of other students at Towson. This little scheduling thing we talked about today, this is what got me through college. I'm not kidding. And I was able to pack more in 4 years than some people pack in 8 or 12 years going to school. But I was very, very diligent. I worked very, very hard. And at the end of my 4 years at Towson, I was one of 13 people to win a full fellowship to the business school of my choice. And I picked the Wharton School of Business. Why? Because the Wharton School of Business had a very good reputation, a very solid reputation of being a good place for minorities and a good place for entrepreneurs. And since I considered myself to be a minority entrepreneur, I knew that that was a place for me. Well, when I arrived in the fall of 1984, one of the first things I did was I met a young man who was my age, very, very similar values, very, very similar philosophy, very, very similar life experiences. His name is Terence Brown. Some of you may know Terence because Terence is Trinita's brother. And today Terence has got a PhD, but when we were both incoming first-year MBA students at the Wharton School of Business, it was very clear to me that Terence knew a thing or two about money that I didn't know. And so we together spent 2 years while going through the Wharton School of Business in search of the answer, how do you get rich in America? How do you get rich in America? By the way, let me see your faces. Anybody here ever asked themselves that question? Gee, how do you actually get rich in this country? Well, that was the question we asked. And we spent 2 years researching. And the bottom line is there is an answer. And I'm not going to go through the complete answer today because that would require me to go through a program that I've already put together called Wealth We Can, but maybe I'll give that to you guys as another sort of special unannounced bonus. But the bottom line is we spent 2 years looking for the answer to the question, how do you get rich in America? And we found it. And the most interesting place that we found it was in the pages of Forbes magazine. We literally went back through decades of issues of Forbes magazine, because Forbes magazine is one of the best business publications out there, almost since day one, of putting together a chronology of how people make money using their businesses. And what we uncovered was that there were 4 common elements that every first generation entrepreneur, successful entrepreneur has. And since Forbes publishes now every year, and they have done so since 1982, a special edition of the magazine called the Forbes 400, which is the 400 richest people in America, the research that Terence and I did has been validated every year since, because if you actually wind up picking up a copy of the Forbes 400, you will see these 4 things over and over again. I won't go through all of the 4 tonight because that's not the purpose of this class, but I will say this. Real estate is the cornerstone of everybody's get rich, become a billionaire success story. Real estate is not necessarily the tool that they used, but somewhere along the way, every entrepreneur comes to the same revelation that John Jacob Astor came to, which is if I have a successful business, I need to start parking some of my profits and taking some of my chips off the table. And the smartest place you can park it is in real estate, because real estate turns millionaires into multimillionaires, and real estate turns multimillionaires into billionaires. And even people who, quite frankly, didn't make their money in real estate, they understand the power of real estate to make them super rich. And you don't have to look any further than a young man named Tyler Perry. Anybody know who Tyler Perry is? If you know who Tyler Perry is, give me a thumbs up. But many of you know Tyler Perry became a billionaire last year. And the number one reason why Tyler Perry became a billionaire last year and not in previous years is because 2 years before, Tyler Perry wound up buying a huge tract of land, which is a former military base named Fort McPherson. And when Forbes calculated his net worth and they included in the military base that he bought, as he turned into a TV studio, all of a sudden he went from being a multimillionaire to billionaire status. Oh, by the way, guess where he learned that trick? Well, while I would love to say he learned it from Sherman, that wouldn't be true. He learned it from Oprah. Oprah has been Tyler Perry's mentor for at least the past 8, 9, 10 years. One of the pacts that they made, and he's very public about it. When Oprah started buying TV shows from Tyler Perry to put on the OWN network, it came with strings attached. Tyler said, you're not just going to buy stuff from me. You're not just going to buy TV shows from me and movies from me. Oprah, you're going to be my mentor. He told her that. And she's like, what do you want me to mentor you on? He said, how to become a billionaire. Because you're in that club and I'm not. That was about 8 years ago. And as soon as he got a mentor who could show him how to get to where he wanted to go, guess what? 8 years later, he's on the list. And one of the things that Oprah said to him is make sure you start buying some real estate. You own your own production company. You own the rights to your intellectual property, but you ain't got enough real estate, son. That's the key. So he started doing it. So he lobbied really, really, really hard, pull out a full court press that when he read in the paper that the DOD was going to decommission Fort McPherson and put it on the market, he made sure that he put a full court press and he got the powers that be in the state of Georgia to help him come up with the money to buy that military base. And he went from being a multimillionaire to a billionaire in 2 years, following the advice of his mentor, Oprah Winfrey. Anything you want in life, you can get as long as you're willing to find somebody who's already got it and ask them to show you how. So when I arrived at the Wharton School of Business in 1984, befriended Terence. Terence and I went on about a 2-year study. We discovered that there is a secret to getting rich. When I graduated from Wharton, I went to work for a company called XEROX Realty, worked there for a little bit, and then I immediately shifted over to a small real estate company when the opportunity presented itself because I wanted to be mentored by a guy named Oliver T. Carr. You do not know who Oliver T. Carr is? Spend some time tonight as an extra homework assignment researching who Oliver T. Carr Jr. is. He's still alive. He's still amongst the living, but he's like 98 years old. Oliver T. Carr at one point in time was one of the wealthiest people, and he still is. He's still, to the best of my knowledge, either a billionaire or close to it. Oliver T. Carr made his money in Washington, D.C. real estate. When everybody else was leaving D.C. in 1968 after the 1968 riots, Oliver Carr was buying as much of that stuff as he possibly could, putting his money together, putting his relationships together, and the number one group of people who were funding Oliver Carr in his real estate pursuits were people who were richer than he was. And then one day he wound up being richer than them. Katharine Graham, the owner of the Washington Post, was a big time partner and funder of Oliver Carr deals. Jim Clark Construction, biggest contractor in the world now. Excuse me, they're not in the world. One of the biggest in the United States. I think Bechtel is bigger, but not by much. Was an original partner with Oliver Carr and putting money into Oliver Carr deals. And Oliver T. Carr made a whole lot of people in Washington, D.C. filthy, stinking rich, including Blackstone Group, who bought the company out in, I want to say, early 90s and cashed all of them out and made all of the Carr family filthy, stinking rich. But I wanted to be mentored by Oliver Carr. So in 1988, I switched firms and came downtown and worked for Oliver Carr for 2-3 years and had a chance to be mentored by him and learned the commercial real estate business from the very best. He was absolutely positively the very best. In the 1980s, Oliver Carr was the man to know if you wanted to get a commercial real estate deal done. Then in 1989, I started my own business to see if I could prove to myself that this was true. And you guys have heard me tell this story. I made a decision to sign my own paycheck, and nobody's ever signed my paycheck since. Boom, true statement. And then in 2001, I began teaching other people what I had discovered. So what exactly did I discover? Sherman, what'd you figure out? Here it is. I'm about to tell you the exact same thing I told a group of business owners at the NASDAQ headquarters back in 2017. You guys see this okay? And some people have seen this picture on my Facebook page. They go, Sherman, that's Photoshop. Oh, really?
There you go. Yeah.
So one of the things that happens is when you speak at NASDAQ, when you're invited to speak at NASDAQ, they put your book up in lights and put your name on it on Times Square. And that was the day I spoke at NASDAQ to this group of business executives. And my topic of conversation was the wealth building power of real estate. And so this is what I told them. Real estate is the cornerstone of every wealth creation plan, and Forbes has fully demonstrated this to be true since 1982 when they started publishing the Forbes 400. And if you go through and read the Forbes 400 and factor out everybody who's inherited wealth, so don't talk about the Walton family that owns Walmart, et cetera, or Steve Jobs' widow. I mean, the people who actually built the first generation wealthy people, you will see that real estate is the cornerstone. Even if they made their money in another business, sooner or later they figured out the importance of investing in real estate and investing their profits in real estate and using real estate as a vehicle to multiply and magnify their wealth. This is why real estate is the cornerstone of every wealth building program and the most reliable way to wealth in America. First proven in the 1700s by John Jacob Astor, and then fully documented by the staff of Forbes magazine of every one of America's top 400 billionaires since 1982. Real estate, my friends, and you may want to write this down, is the ideal investment. Real estate compared to anything else, Bitcoin, building your own business, stock market, oil and gas, startups, real estate hands down beats all of them, because there are 5 characteristics that I'm about to go through real quick right now. You may want to write them down, that every piece of real estate has. If, and this is important, if you own it. What I'm about to share with you is not true of flipping. It's not true of wholesaling. It's not true of bird dogging. But if you actually wind up owning real estate, you should expect these 5 things to show up and be a part of your wealth building plan. Number 1, real estate has income. In most cases, monthly income. Anybody here got Bitcoin? What kind of monthly income are you getting off your Bitcoin? Anybody here own mutual funds, stocks and bonds, oil and gas futures? What kind of monthly income are you getting from those investments? This is true of single family houses. This is true of apartment buildings. This is true of commercial property. When John Jacob Astor decided to take some of the chips off the table and diversify away from some of his operating businesses, because there was many a night, many a month, many a year he thought he might lose his business because of what was going on with the war, he made the conscious decision to sell off some assets, to take some profits off the table, and go park it in a place that no matter what was going on, no matter what was going on with the economy, no matter what was going on with the crazy people storming the Capitol, no matter what was happening in the world events, he could expect to get a rent check. John Jacob Astor was one of the biggest landlords in Lower Manhattan when it came to tenement houses and apartment buildings. Yes, he owned hotels. Yes, he owned office buildings. Yes, he owned large tracts of land. But for the tracts of land, for the most part, he would convert them into tenement houses and apartment buildings and collect the rents. And even when people didn't have a job, even when people were out of work, even when the economy was turning upside down because of the war, he was still somehow able to get that rent check. And if you didn't pay the rent, he put you out. Ruthless. There was no rent control like we have today. You didn't pay rent, he put a padlock on your door, he put your stuff out on the street, he put somebody else in there. Now, even without being as ruthless as that, understanding that owning income producing real estate means you're going to get an income every single month, no matter what. People like Sherman, you're in the middle of a recession and you got the whole COVID thing and you took your whole family down to the islands. How'd you do that? When I got back, there was rent sitting in the box to pay the bill. If you got rent sitting in the box to pay the bill, you can make that American Express payment at the end of 30 days. Got it? Okay. So the income, not every investment has income. Next, depreciation. Depreciation is the last legal tax shelter in America. In other words, the ability to actually not have to pay taxes because legally you can depreciate parts of the building. I'm sorry, I'm getting some feedback from some folks. I need to stop sharing for a second and find out where that noise is coming from. Let me just go ahead and mute everybody, and then we'll get back to the slides. Thank you very much. Because it's hard for you guys to listen to me if you're listening to somebody else step, crackling, and popping in the background. All right, so income, depreciation. Legally, if you own a building, and it doesn't matter whether it's an apartment building, a house, or an office building, the government says every single year you can shelter some of your income through tax treatment because you own the building. Again, you don't get tax treatment when you fix and flip. You don't get tax treatment when you wholesale or bird dog. But if you own property, you can shelter legally income. All right, next up, appreciation. One of my favorites, but not my absolute favorite. Simple fact of the matter is, while the government is saying that your building is worth less and less and letting you shelter income, in most cases and in most markets and in most neighborhoods, the value of your property is actually going up, unless you're in an absolutely bad war zone property. And that can happen. So it's important that you buy right, because the one thing you can't change is location. But if you have a property in even a halfway decent neighborhood, chances are that property is appreciating in value at least 2 to 5%, at least at the pace of inflation every year. And in some markets, it's better than that. Everybody realized that since Amazon announced that they were moving their headquarters and started moving their headquarters to Northern Virginia, property values in Arlington have been going up 20% a year for the past 4 years. Does everybody understand that in Prince George's County, since we came out of the 2009, 2010 recession, property values in Prince George's County have been escalating by 7 to 10% a year? And what do you think is going to happen when a new administration takes town and they put the FBI building back in play, and FBI picks Prince George's County for their next headquarters? What do you think is going to happen to property values in Prince George's County then? Prince George's County is going to start looking like 20% too, what's going on in Northern Virginia. So just simply owning property in those jurisdictions that are escalating in value, you're going to get appreciation. And in some cases, as an investor, you can do what's called forcing appreciation, but that's not what I'm going to talk about tonight. I'm just simply saying every real estate property, every real estate deal that you have has these characteristics, as long as it's income producing. Only thing that doesn't fall in this category is land. And that's a special category. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Okay. But all real estate and all real estate investments have these 5 characteristics. Equity buildup. This is my personal favorite, and I got a little chart I want to share with you to go into more detail. But equity buildup basically means that every month that you're paying the mortgage, you're paying down the principal, which means it's like a forced savings account, a forced savings plan. And for people like me who hate to save, I got news for you. I hate saving. I never got the gist of it when I was a kid. I was always raiding my piggy bank. I never really got the gist of it as a young adult when I had a job. And as a real estate investor, it's nice to know that when you own property, every single month, every single week, every single day, at least Monday through Friday, you got total strangers who are getting up at dark 30 for one reason and one reason alone: to pay you rent so you can pay your mortgage. And every time you pay that mortgage, a certain portion of what you're paying is going to pay down the principal. It's a forced savings plan. And again, I got a chart I'll show you in a second that fully explains that. But this is my favorite part of owning real estate, that forced savings, that equity buildup. And then finally, leverage. Your ability to borrow money to buy a property is unheard of versus any other kind of investment. It is pretty common in the world of commercial real estate that the lender will give you 75% to 80% of what you need to buy a property. It is pretty common when it comes to single family houses that a lender will give you 90%. And if you're a first time home purchaser and it's your primary residence, you're looking at close to 95 to 100% of what you need to buy that property. You can't buy gold like that. You can't buy Bitcoin like that. You can't buy stocks and bonds like that. Yes, if you're a big time player in the stock market, maybe you can buy on margin, but margin usually means you're putting up 50% of what you need. But can you imagine being able to buy multi-million-dollar properties, million-dollar properties, several $100,000 properties, and you're only putting up 10%? That's unheard of in any other investment category. And quite frankly, that one little thing is not true in many places outside of the United States. So when it comes to real estate and the qualities of real estate really is the quote unquote ideal investment because it gives you these 5 things. And again, it doesn't matter whether it's an apartment building, a house, a couple of houses, a dozen houses, an office building, a shopping center. It doesn't matter what the real estate is. All real estate that you own, with the exception of land, has these 5 characteristics. Get to know this. If you were writing it down as I was saying it, congratulations. You're going to be well ahead when it comes time to doing your homework assignment tonight. And if you weren't writing it down, you'll hear me say this a couple more times, but this is the reason why people go goo goo gaga over real estate and they don't necessarily go goo goo gaga over other kinds of investments. Real estate truly is unique, and many of these things like depreciation and equity buildup really only happen inside of US real estate because of our tax treatment, our tax laws, and our policies towards home ownership, which also spill over into commercial property ownership. So real quick, this is a little chart I want to show to just sort of emphasize this point of the equity buildup component. I want to show this real quick. This is, and can you guys see this okay? Give me a thumbs up if you can see where it says just knowing this one thing can make you an automatic millionaire. Can you guys see this? Because I know sometimes Zoom is a little slow. Okay, there we go. Oop. I'm actually watching me, watching you, watching me. That's a little weird. All right, but this chart right here is what I'm referring to. And again, if you're doing an aha moment sheet, you may want to write this down. This concept is so powerful that a buddy of mine, some of you guys may recognize this guy, David Bach. He's written like 7 or 8 books on just this one topic. He wrote a book called The Automatic Millionaire. Anybody who's ever read The Automatic Millionaire, familiar with it, give me a thumbs up, just so I know, or put it in the chat. All right, so David Bach wrote several books on this topic called The Automatic Millionaire, and it's really based on this one concept. And the one concept that he's talking about is this, okay? And let me sort of go to another one just to make it a little bit easier to see, all right? All right, everything in the US housing market revolves around the 30-year mortgage. And again, some of these key concepts I'm about to share with you also spill over into commercial real estate. When most people in the United States buy a home, right, a house to live in, they're typically using a 30-year mortgage. And it's not any kind of a 30-year mortgage, it's specifically a specific kind of 30-year mortgage. If you know the answer to the question, please type it in the chat box. What type of 30-year mortgages do we typically see in the United States? Thank you. Some of you guys are right there with me. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Trinita. Thank you, Joseph. Some of you are saying FHA. That's not quite right. Some of you guys are saying fixed, and I'll talk about what fixed means in a second. But the most important answer is amortizing. Please write that down. In the United States of America, we have a special kind of mortgage because this is the mortgage that is backed principally by the government. So yes, it's true. The government has a role to play. Yes, FHA has a role to play. But the bottom line is this: the most common type of mortgage for homeowners in America is the 30-year amortizing mortgage. If you come out of this class 21 days from now or 20 days from now and you don't remember anything other than what I'm talking about right here and now and the words coming out of my mouth, this one thing alone will make you a millionaire. You combine it with the other stuff that we're going to be talking about for the next 20 days, it'll make you a multi-millionaire. But at a minimum, it will make you a millionaire. Understanding the power of the 30-year amortizing mortgage. So what exactly is a 30-year amortizing mortgage versus just a 30-year mortgage, which is the most common type of mortgage in the United States, but not the most common type overseas? The most common type of mortgage in the UK, and my understanding France and other foreign countries, is the 10-year balloon mortgage. And in a 10-year balloon mortgage, you only pay the interest payment. And at the end of 10 years, you have to pay the balance. If you can't pay the balance, you're at the mercy of the lender or the bank either extending for an additional period of time, or the lender may very well force you to sell the property to pay off the note. And one of the big problems, and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but one of the big problems that a lot of investors have who fix and flip houses, who then want to turn around and fix and keep houses, is they use the wrong financing source. They use a hard money lender who wants to get paid off within a year or 6 months. And if you don't pay that hard money lender off within 6 months or a year, they're going to threaten to foreclose on you. And the only way that you're going to be able to pay them off is to go ahead and sell the property. That is a situation that is faced every year by hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people overseas, because overseas they don't have 30-year amortizing mortgages. They have balloon mortgages, 10-year balloon mortgages, 7-year balloon mortgages. Here in the United States, the most common type of mortgage is a 30-year amortizing mortgage. What does that mean? First of all, what does 30 years mean? Anybody want to guess? Put it in the chat box. It means the mortgage is out for 30 years. It's good for 30 years. You have 30 years to pay it off. Or said another way, it needs to be paid off in 30 years. But here's the best part. In an amortizing mortgage, which is a French word, the core of the word amortizing is mort. Please type in the chat box what you think that French word mort, M-O-R-T, means. What does it mean? Yes, kills, death. Y'all sound like a movie, murder, death, kill. Murder, death, kill, right? What was that Sandra Bullock and Sylvester Stallone in Demolition Man? Oh my God, we have a murder, death, kill, right? So the word mort, like mortuary, mortician, it means to die, it means to kill, it means death. A 30-year amortizing mortgage is a mortgage that kills itself. Hang in there with me, guys. I know some of you are like, well, gee, Sherman, you said you were going to go for so long and we're going in overtime and my head's hurting. Hang in there with me. Hang in there. A 30-year mortgage is a mortgage that you make a payment every month for 30 years. No, by the way, what is 12 times 30? What is it? 360, that's right. So when you enter into a 30-year mortgage, you are agreeing to pay the lender 360 payments, a payment every month for 30 years. That's 360 payments. Those payments on a 30-year mortgage are fixed. And that's what some of you guys are saying, they're fixed. And fixed is fine, but fixed is not the most important thing. The fact that it's amortizing is the most important. In other words, it's killing itself, it's dying itself, it's killing itself off. A 30-year amortizing mortgage is a mortgage where you're going to make 360 payments, where the payment is going to be the same for all 360 of those payments. But at the end of 360 payments, you owe the lender nothing. You're like, wait a minute, isn't there a balloon? No, in an amortizing mortgage, there is no balloon, because every single month, a portion of the payment is going towards the principal and a portion of the payment is going towards the interest. Interest represents the profit to the lender for making the loan. Principal represents you paying back a little piece of what you borrowed. And when you put those two things together for 360 payments, at the end of 360 payments, you've paid the whole thing off, interest and principal. And I know some of you guys might be thinking right now, well, hold on, Sherman, I have a 30-year loan, and a couple of times my payments have gone up. Why? Because the lender is also collecting the taxes. There's a reason why the lender is collecting the property taxes, because if the property taxes don't get paid, the jurisdiction where the property is located can foreclose on the property and wipe the lender out. The lender doesn't want to get wiped out because you borrowed $500,000 and you had a $4,000 tax bill that didn't get paid. So they will collect, oftentimes they will collect the taxes and pay the taxes for you. So if there was any increase in that 30-year mortgage along the way, it wasn't because the mortgage went up, it's because the taxes went up. And whatever incremental increase in taxes, the lender passed that back on to you, but they were still collecting it for you. Everybody got that? If you got it, please type, I got it in the chat box. Please type, I got it in the chat box. Look, I'm coming to the end. But like I said before, if you walk away from this class and all you get is this one concept, it will make you a millionaire. When the light bulb goes on, you go, aha, I get it. All right? So here's the deal. In this example, I've got a $100,000 property. See that? Where I got a $90,000 loan. And this little bit of gap right here, that little bit of gap is 10 grand. That was your down payment. Now, every month for 360 months, in other words, every month for 30 years, you're going to make a flat payment to the lender. And a certain piece of that, you know what, as I explain this, I'm already realizing that chart is wrong. And I've been doing this for a number of years now, and it's like, oops, that ought to be a $100,000 loan. Because what this chart is really saying, what this chart is actually saying, is that your loan is 100,000, not the property is 100,000. All right. So in this example, let's assume that you're a home buyer. Let's assume, and I need to make that go away because it's showing up on the screen. So I'm gonna stop showing screen for a second because this happens every once in a while. Then I'll start showing screen. I don't know if you guys saw those little blue lines that showed up for no reason. That's one of the things about Zoom. All right. So I got a $100,000 loan, $100,000 loan, and every single month, I'm paying a flat amount of money. That's what this top line represents. I'm paying the same amount of money every month over a 30-year period. And in the early days, a little bit of the money is going to pay down the principal, and most of the money is going to pay down the interest. But as I get closer to the end of 30 years, I'm still paying the same amount of money, but look what happens. More and more of my monthly payment is being applied to the principal, and less and less is being applied to the interest. And at the end of the 30-year period, on the first day of the 31st year, I owe the bank how much? Please type it in the chat box if you know the answer. What will I owe the bank on the first day of the 31st month? Yes, nothing, 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 0, 0, exactly. Because it was an amortizing mortgage. So let me ask you a question. First of all, how many people in the session today plan to be alive 30 years from now, besides me? Show of hands. Winnie, you know something that there you go. Put them hands up, right? So if you plan on being alive 30 years from now, isn't it kind of cool to know that if you went out today and bought a property, not 100 years from now, thank you, Raymond, but if you do, good for you. You're going to have a whole lot of body parts replaced to make that happen. But just 30 years from now, isn't it kind of cool to know that if you went out today and bought a property and paid the mortgage, that 30 years from now, whatever that property is worth is yours? In this example, let's assume for a second the house is worth $100,000 and you pay that mortgage every month for 360 payments. 30 years from now, on the first day of the 31st year, you will own a house free and clear that's worth $100,000. How many people like that idea? If you like that idea, either raise your hand or type in the chat box, I like that idea. Isn't that a cool wealth building idea? All right, who would like for me to make that idea a little bit better? Okay, what if instead of it being your principal residence, it was a rental property? And I showed you a way to not only get a bank loan to cover, let's call it 80% of the purchase price, but then also showed you how to bring in a private investor to cover the rest. So you still wind up putting nothing into that deal from the outset, but at the end of 30 years, you own that house free and clear, and it's worth $100,000. But you put nothing into it, and it's not your primary residence, it's an investment property. How many like that idea? Oh, somebody like, I like that one better. Okay, cool. Who wants me to sweeten the deal even more? Who wants me to sweeten that deal even more? What if I told you that single family houses in the Washington, D.C. area have a documented history? I'm talking about D.C. and close-in suburbs. So D.C., Silver Spring, Northern Virginia, Montgomery County, parts of Prince George's County, documented history that properties in that area double in value every 14.9 years. Which means a property that you bought today is going to be worth how much in 30 years if that trend continues? What's it going to be worth? Please type it in the chat box if you know the answer. If it's worth $100,000 today, what will it be worth? Real numbers. Well, let's do the math. If it's worth $100,000 today and it doubles in value in 14.9 years, what's it worth in 15 years? $200,000. And if it doubles again in another 14.9 years, what's it worth? $400,000. So some of you are saying it's going to triple. Some of you think it's going to double. No, $100,000 house today, if the trend continues in our region, will be worth $400,000 in 30 years. Now, let me see a show of hands again. Who plans on being alive in 30 years? Therefore, isn't it kind of cool to know that if you were able to buy a property today, nothing down, that if all you did was hang on to it and let somebody else rent that property from you and pay the mortgage and not tear that house up too badly, that house could be worth $400,000 in 30 years. Well, let me ask you a question. If you bought one house that way, what prevents you from buying two houses that way? And if you buy two houses that way, what prevents you from buying three houses that way? And if you were able to buy three $100,000 houses this year, not all at the same time, but this year, and hang on to those three $100,000 houses for 30 years, where somebody else is getting up at dark 30 to pay the rent, so you can then use the rent to pay the mortgage, and you paid that mortgage off, each one of those three mortgages off, how much would you own in real estate 30 years from now? Three $100,000 houses that you kept. And the correct answer is what you guys are talking, $1.2 million. What did I say 10 minutes ago? Just knowing this one concept can turn you into a millionaire. David Bach, in his book, Automatic Millionaire, my buddy David Bach, and I love David, and I love his books. But do you understand that David was talking about owning one house that's your primary residence and just hanging on to it for 30 years and walking away with $1 million? I'm talking about using the techniques you're going to learn during the next 21 days, or now 20 days, to put that concept on steroids and actively and aggressively get yourself into a position. Now, you may not be in a position in 21 days to own rental property and do what I just said, but somewhere along the way, you want to position yourself so that no matter how and where you enter this game, that somewhere along the way, you wind up owning some real estate and just sitting on it and letting the real estate make you rich. And oh, by the way, if I can touch on, not completely teach you, but touch on and share with you how to buy properties with none of your own money, and they're not $100,000, but $300,000. And I can still document and share with you the concepts of how to do this with a $300,000 house using none of your own money. Can't you buy three $300,000 houses in the next year and wind up owning three $300,000 houses free and clear 30 years from now? And what would happen with one $300,000 house? 14.9 years, 300 becomes what? 600, doubles. And 14.9 years later, 6 becomes what? 1.2 million. Now look, I know for some of you guys, that is just more than your brains can comprehend. And it's, you know, almost 9 o'clock, you're like, no, that's more than I can understand. But I'm telling you this. And the reason why I'm telling you this the first full day of class is because I don't want people to get so caught up in fixing and flipping and wholesaling and bird dogging that you lose sight of the bigger picture. There's nothing wrong with bird dogging. There's nothing wrong with wholesaling. There's nothing wrong with fixing and flipping. But you guys understand that every time you sell a property, you're walking away from $1 million. You're walking away from an opportunity for 30 years from now to have $1.2 million in your bank account if it's a $300,000 house. Every time you do that, you're walking away from $1 million. I'm going to teach you guys in the next 21 days how to get deals and get deals quickly and create fast cash. But what you're actually doing is you're helping somebody else become rich. And all the concepts I'm going to share with you, all the concepts I'm going to teach you is all about you figuring out how to plug in to this real estate system and figure out where you fit. But somebody at the core of your real estate strategy, the people on your buyers list, the people that you may be wholesaling or bird dogging or fixing and flipping properties to, their core strategy is about wealth building. And wealth building is about the ownership of real estate. Never lose sight of the big picture at any point as we go along together for the next 20 days, okay? And the big picture is to ultimately put yourself in a position to own. Some of the strategies I'm going to teach you, I want you to do them, and I want you to do the exercises over the next 20 days. And I don't necessarily want you to become a wholesaler or a bird dog or a fix and flipper, because I want you to do that as your way of making money. Maybe some of you have to, but I want you to learn these techniques well enough that I'm going to teach you that you can teach them to somebody else and sit back when everybody else is bringing deals to you, because that's what I do. A lot of the stuff I'm going to teach you today, I did it 10 years ago because I needed to put food on the table. I don't do them anymore. But I still teach them, I still do them well enough to teach them to somebody else so other people can bring deals to me. Because I'm all about that IDEAL, ideal, owning real estate and letting real estate just sit and do its job and make me rich and waiting for 30 years for the payoff. With a couple of exceptions, and I'll teach you and talk to you about the exceptions, okay? But as we gear up, starting tomorrow, and really get into all these different techniques for making money, the 13 different strategies, and finish out our conversation about Real Estate 101, never lose sight of the fact that the foundation of real estate and the foundation of why people are excited about real estate is because if you just own real estate for the long haul, it'll make you filthy, stinking rich. And there are so few programs that start off by talking about the fact that this is what real estate is designed to do. Like they want to quickly get you into being a bird dog or a wholesaler or fix and flipping. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't want anybody spending 2, 3, 4, 5 years doing those things and going, God, I wish I should have, really should have, would have, wish I had kept some of those houses. I don't want anybody having any regrets having gone through any training program that I do. If you got a bird dog to get going, because that's all you can do. If you got a wholesale to get going, because that's all you can do. If you need to fix and flip to build up some cash reserves, fine, do it. I've done it. But the long-term wealth building plan for real estate, the automatic millionaire stuff David Bach talks about, the automatic wealth building on steroids, it's the ownership of real estate that will make you filthy stinking rich. Never lose sight of that. Please don't ever lose sight of it. And it's this characteristic of this 30-year amortizing mortgage that makes that possible. Real estate is the ideal investment. Why? Because of income, depreciation, appreciation, equity buildup, and leverage. And it doesn't matter whether we're talking about a $300,000 house in Prince George's County, Maryland, that's going to be worth $1.2 million someday, or we're talking about a $600,000 house in Montgomery County, or $1 million house in Falls Church. As long as you don't have negative cash flow, because you start having negative cash flow, that thing will eat you alive, which is why I don't go into Montgomery County and I don't go into Falls Church. But of the investment properties that I own today, and more that I'm adding to my inventory, I bought 3 houses this past year. Like, Sherman, why didn't you buy 100? Because I'm not fixing and flipping them. I'm buying them to keep, to add to my portfolio, knowing full well that each one of those houses I bought this past year is going to be worth $1.2 million in 30 years. I don't need to own, I don't need to go out and buy a dozen houses every year. I just need to get the best 2 or 3 I can get into my portfolio and just hang on to them. And oh, by the way I structure deals and the way I'm going to talk about structuring deals this week, I typically have an extra $1,000 a month cash flow, which allows me in the early days to pay off my private investor so I can come into deals nothing down. But after I pay off my private investor after 2 or 3 years, that money comes to me to live off of, having my cake and eating it too. And I'm not the only investor who does this. I just happen to be the only one that you know who's willing to let you look over his shoulder and show you how to do it yourself. If you know somebody else who's willing to show you how to do this, by all means, go hang out with them too. But if you don't know anybody, but you know me, let's hang together for the next 21 days and let me show you how I do it. That'd be okay with you? That'd be okay with you. Say, I'm okay with that in the chat box. Please, if you're okay with it. If not, why are you here? All right, so again, IDEAL. Now, again, this particular class is not about wealth building. It's not about some of these advanced concepts. And so when I gave this speech at the NASDAQ back in 2017, I went into some greater detail. That's not what this class is about getting your first deal done. But again, as a special bonus and to make sure that we don't get all tied up and knotted up and confused, I'm going to share with you that conversation I had at the NASDAQ, including a step-by-step process for what I call the 5 steps of wealth building. But I'm not going to give it to you tonight. I'm not going to give it to you this week. I'm not going to give it to you this. When this 21 days is over, you will find that you have an email from me saying, congratulations, please click this to now tap into the Wealth We Can program that I put together that talks about, in a more detailed sort of way, these characteristics about real estate, and also in a very step-by-step orderly fashion, how to get real estate properties knocking down. This class is about getting your first deal done. And again, even if you have the financial wherewithal to start buying and holding property, put that off for the next 20 days and focus on what I'm teaching, because I want you to learn it well enough to teach it to your kids. I want you to learn it well enough to teach it to people who come to you and go, gee, how do I do that? Because when you do that, you're setting them up to be successful, and you're also setting them up to bring deals to you. And at the end of the day, it's all about having people bring stuff to you, people chasing you, not you chasing them. That's how you build a life of your dreams. And as I oftentimes say, people oftentimes ask me, Sherman, why do you apply this concept to Prince George? Why don't you go outside the area? Why don't you come down to Atlanta? I got family in Atlanta, I got family in Dallas. Why don't you come down here? Because if Prince George's County, Maryland didn't exist, investors would have created it. Because we have the opportunity to buy $100,000 properties, $200,000 properties, $300,000 today. When the FBI shows up, that opportunity is out the window. But we have the opportunity to buy $300,000 properties for less than $300,000 and come out of this thing with $1,000 positive cash flow. And you're like, Sherman, how do you do that? Hang in there, grasshopper, because I'm going to share a case study with you before we get out of here. But has everybody got this basic concept, wrote it down in your notes about the IDEAL, IDEAL? And did everybody also write in your notes about amortization? Hopefully you did. Okay. So let's go ahead and close this thing out, and I'm going to share with you today's case study. And once again, I'm going to show it to you live, but in the future, when everybody's in the Facebook group, like in tomorrow, I'll be uploading these videos into Facebook, and you'll be watching them on your own. Okay. But here's today's case study video. Let me move this over. I don't want to move that over. I want to move the screen over. Can I do that? No, I can't. So let me make it smaller. Boom. All right, here's today's video. So there it is. As our contract reminded us, it's been 7 months since he gave us the cost estimate. How'd that happen? This was a bank REO. We bought this property on auction.com, and most of the properties on auction.com, quite frankly, are bank REOs. And the bank totally screwed up on the foreclosure. There was a husband and wife. The wife left, and she never signed off on the paperwork. And so they ultimately had to track her down and get her to sign a paper. But this all happened after we closed, as we were getting ready to go to settlement. And so the title company uncovered all this. So long story short, good thing about doing these walkthroughs, your sort of kickoff walkthroughs, is the contractor can remind you what's in the estimate, what's not in the estimate, so there's no surprises. In this particular case, it's like, hey man, I gave you that cost estimate 7 months ago. Prices have changed a little bit, and we need to take a look at it. So it was good to be able to get out here and go through that. As you heard him say, he's going to get us revised cost estimate over the weekend, and then be ready to get to work next week. And we'll be back out here as we go through the actual construction, and give you a chance to see and look over our shoulder, look over my shoulder as we go through this. So anyway, we're meeting with a contractor. Hey, Owen. How we doing? And we're just talking about some improvements of what's going on with Narrows Lane. This is the house that's all laid out one floor, like ranch style. And we had talked about turning this possibly into an assisted living property. May do that, may not do that. So far, nobody stepped up to want to actually take it as an assisted living property. So we're like, okay, keep moving forward. But as you can see, contractors are doing a lot of work. So Owen, tell us what's going on with this wall here.
All right, so we're looking at the demolition of this wall. This is actually a load bearing wall, so we can't demo the whole thing. So we do have some options.
Yep.
All right, when we're doing an open concept such as this,
Right.
which really does help liven up the entire floor plan.
Yep.
You get some nice views and open space. You can either put an island here, which does it's a very modern concept, or you can keep this nice and clear, nice and open. Put some cylindrical columns in. Both very nice looks. Both nice and cool.
So you can see a lot of demo going on. They've already ripped out all the carpets. Subcontractors out there taking care of the, putting in new concrete. Got to put down the wire before you pour in the concrete. So they're moving along, making things happen.
So we got part one of the landscape.
Oh yeah. You got the bushes all.
Yeah, we're not gonna mulch it and then get paint on the fresh mulch.
Sure. And you are going to paint the outside of the house. Is that what, Dave? Is that what you decided? Paint the outside of the house. Yeah. Got the trees cut down. So I don't know if you guys remember those trees. They're already down. They're gone. Wow, it's a huge difference. Yeah, exactly. Got some sunlight. Yeah, some space. And then so that's the extent of the concrete pad. Okay. You know, I would have made it a little bit bigger just to give you a little more. That's not much of a pad, to be honest with you. Well, what would it cost if you brought it over here? Because you can't put a table there, you can't put a patio furniture. It's too small for any of that stuff. So let's talk to Owen. Let's talk to these guys before they start pouring concrete. Maybe bring it all the way over. And so you see they got the demos going. You guys started what, 2 days ago, 3 days ago? Yesterday.
Well, I've been here. Demo started yesterday.
Demo started yesterday. So you can see they're going to town. Oh my God. So this got carpet on top. Sure. That's some beautiful tile work. It's almost a shame to cover that up. So again, this was a garage that was converted into sort of a mother. Oh my God, hardwood floor. Look at that. They actually covered that up. That's almost criminal. The hardwood is really nice. We got to talk about that when we get home, Dave. But whether or not we want to keep that hardwood. Day one. This is what your project should look like when you get your contractor out here. It shouldn't take forever and a day to get stuff moving and get stuff rolling. This is like 10 by 15, and my feeling was it wasn't long enough because there's not enough room where they had it set to put full full-size table with full chair. Back the chair up, falling off the back of the deck. So what we did was we measured it out, you know, make sure that you always bring your tape measure with you, right? Measured it out and decided that we're going to go ahead and extend this another 8 feet. Come on around here this way. We're going to extend this out another 8 feet. And by extending this out another 8 feet, these guys are really, really good. Like we said, okay, let's move it. And they're already moving it, getting ready to go. But by extending out another 8 feet, notice how much bigger this deck is now. Yeah. Now you can put a grill over here at the corner. You can put a full-size table and chair sort of right there in the middle. If you back your chair up a little bit, you're not falling off the back of the deck. And it's kind of really important that you catch this stuff before the concrete gets poured. And it turns out when we were talking to the contractor, so okay, well, when's the truck coming? He said, it's on its way now. So they're able to cancel the truck and they're doing the prelim work, the framing, syringa, the rebar, putting in crushed rock, and then the truck will come out tomorrow and do the pours for all the different areas that they've got. Notice how we got that wall down. Look how beautiful that is, nice, wide, open. Isn't that fantastic? Right, it also really helps to highlight the fireplace. I don't know if you guys remember what this looked like. Got the ceilings all done, looking really, really sharp, and got all that kitchen cabinetry out. Got brand new cabinets installed. It just makes sense to put in new cabinets as opposed to just trying to do the resurfacing, refinishing. Made a decision to put some cabinets here to get a little more cabinet space, and then put an island. Still have that open effect, but we didn't tear it all the way out. Didn't make it all the way open like we said we did. And again, everything's just going really, really smoothly. So where can I get the carpet in? Carpeting up these rooms right here. Guys, look at that. But looking really good. So got the guys working on the kitchen today, putting in the countertop, looking good. Looking good. Look at that, the white with the marble. Very, very nice touch. And they're working on all that. Not a whole lot different than last week. Obviously last week the flooring contractor was in here and he got everything done. And again, look how beautiful. I mean, that's not hardwood, but it looks like hardwood, right? You see that? Our flooring contractor got the carpet in, and the carpet looks fantastic. When we were out here last week, he was still working. We got the brand new windows in, right? So this is going to rent really, 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 really fast. Probably rent for somewhere. This part of Louis, technically it's a 5-bedroom house, so it's going to rent from somewhere between $35,000 and $4,000 a month. And we thought about doing a section. We thought about doing a assisted living. But the problem is we couldn't get the assisted living people to move fast enough. And in order to do assisted living, we would have to knock out that wall, knock out this wall, and connect the bathrooms outside this wall. And as you can see, in 2 weeks, I know last video I said we were week 3, I was wrong. Last week we were week 2. We're now starting the 3rd week of construction. See how fast this thing is going? We don't have time to wait. And therefore we can't move walls, and we're also not going to put in a sprinkler system there. So the train has kind of left the station for this to be an assisted living, but it's going to do really, really, really well, especially in this part of town. This is in Bowie, Maryland. It's going to do really, really well as a 4 or 5 bedroom rental. Now, there's that other bathroom I told you about on the other side of the wall. So this 5 bedroom, 3 bath. Here's the other bedroom. So what they did was they took the garage and converted it into 2 bedrooms. We talked about this before. In fact, we said if we were going to do assisted living, we would probably wind up using one as an office, but these qualify as bedrooms. There's the height's a little short, but it's still 7 something, and it's 9 by 9. That's all you need is a 9 by 9 minimum. Obviously, a little bigger is a little better, but we've got 2 really good bedrooms here in what used to be the garage and their own bathroom. We're ready. I think we're probably 3-4 days away from putting this house on the market. As soon as they finish up the kitchen and start cleaning the place up, and they've been doing a pretty good job of cleaning as we go along, but as soon as they wind up finishing up the kitchen, we'll be ready to put this on the market. As you can see, the kitchen's going on really, really fast. They're going to get this done probably today or tomorrow. So, yeah, this will probably go on the market, I'd say maybe Friday. So, and things going really, really fast. Really happy with most of what's happening at the job. This is going to be a sweet little moneymaker. For those who don't know, bought the house for 260, 245, 245, 245 or 265, I can't remember. Found it on a website, bought it off auctions.com, got on the website, and the appraised value right now is 385. So we've already picked up $125,000 in equity, and I think we're going to wind up generating close to $2,000 a month in positive cash flow. This is what it means to be a real investor. Hey, it's Sherman Ragland, Dean of the Realinvestors Academy. Sherman Ragland, the real investor, picked up $125,000 in equity, turning it into a rental, and we're going to wind up making somewhere around $1,500 to $2,000 a month. Sherman Ragland, Real Investors, realinvestors.com. If you want to learn how to become a real investor, come hang with us. By the way, we're like on the web 3-4 days a week, teaching people how to do this. So Sherman Ragland, go back. You like my little fancy? Well, you know you can cash this. You can actually cash a check on toilet paper. But that's another lesson for another day. Sherman Ragland, Real Investors. Talk soon. All right, so let's talk about the backstory. Acquisition price was about $245,000. Rehab budget was $45,000. Monthly payment currently to a hard money lender is $2,200. We're getting ready to refinance, and when we refinance, the monthly payment will drop down to $1,800. But even right now, the passive monthly income is about $1,400. So Sherman, in the video, you said the passive income was going to be like $2,000. Well, when we finished the property, put it out for rent, we wound up putting it out for rent the exact same month that there was about 8 properties out for rent. When we bought the property, there was only 3. And when there's a lot of competition, prices drop. But even still, we're making $1,400 a month. And the good news is the tenant got a good deal. They know they got a good deal. And every month when we raise every year, not every month, every year we raise the rent, we're going to probably raise it by 5-6%. So the 14 will become 1480, which will become 1525, which will become 16. So we're going to get there. We're just not going to get there day one. And at the end of the day, like I said, we picked up about $125,000 equity. That house appraised for $385. So you guys do the math. In 15 years, what's that house worth? If it's $385 today, what's it worth in 15 years? Anybody? Y'all got calculators, y'all got cell phones. Come on, put it in the chat box if you know the answer. 385, when it doubles in value, goes to 770. And when it doubles again 15 years after that, it's 1.5 mil. Now, what if I'm wrong? What if it doesn't double every 50? What if it only like doubles once and then goes up another 20-30%? It's still $1 million. And the best part of this deal is little to none of our money went into that deal. Nothing down deal. Use a private investor, blah, 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 blah. Now, the purpose of me showing that case study, and I'll stick around and answer whatever questions you guys got, is not to say this is what we're going to do in the next 21 days, because you're not. But when we start getting into the conversation about looking for buyers and building a buyer's list, who do you think you are bringing your deals to? Hello? You out there? What kind of buyers are you looking for? Yes, people like me. That's what we're talking about. And so part of my plan for sharing with you and showing you guys how to do this is I expect you guys to go out and find some deals. And I hope you'll bring them to me. But even if you don't bring them to me, because there's plenty of other investors out there, plenty. Understanding what's your end game, understanding what's your exit. Who are you going to be wholesaling these properties to? And this video is now inside our Facebook group. So Facebook is capturing this live and recording it, and it's going to be there as soon as we finish. Here's your homework for tonight. I'm going to give you 2 homework assignments for tonight. Neither one of them is all that difficult. Number 1, go back and watch the video again and pay close attention to what this house looked like in its before state. Because that's what your guys are going to be out there looking for. Not the pretty blue house with the pretty orange door. And thank you very much for saying how pretty it is. By the way, my son picked those colors and he was the one that convinced me. I'm like, it's a rental property. What do we got to paint it for? He was right. It looks a whole lot better painted and rented faster because it was painted. But go back and watch the video and look at what that property looked like in its before state. That's what you're looking for. And then you're going to turn around and put it under contract and wholesale it to somebody like me if you want the quick cash. And for those of you who are like, I'm going through this class because I want to get the first deal done, but I really want to be an owner of real estate. I want to tap into that ideal thing that Sherman was talking about, the thing you're talking about, Sherman. Well, fine. Watch the video again, watch the case study again to see, okay, this is how we do it. We're not going out there and quote unquote buying pretty properties and paying top dollar and putting it, because you won't make any money doing it that way. You won't have a positive income. If I were to go out and pay $400,000 or $385,000 for that property, I'm not going to have $1,000 a month positive cash flow. But if I'm able to buy that property using what's called the Mayo formula, and we'll get into that next week, what the Mayo formula is and what it represents. If I'm able to buy properties for below market value because I'm buying them in a sort of beat up and ugly state, so to speak, then I can design it so I got this positive cash flow built right in. And remember how I talked about the ideal IDEAL formula, and everybody remember what the A stands for? If you remember what the A stands for, please type it in the chat box. What does A stand for? Anybody remember? Hint, hint. Appreciation. Oh, that's out of order. Somebody says, Sherman, that doesn't spell ideal. Yes, these are out of order. Let me fix that now while I'm thinking about it. All right, so cut that, paste that, put that. Ideal. All right, the A in ideal stands for appreciation. If I'm able to buy houses using this Mayo formula that I'll get into when we get into the buying of the houses and making offers next week, and I'm buying houses for under market value, I'm capturing appreciation day one. And as I said in the video, on that particular deal, I was able to pick up $125,000 worth of equity buying the way that I bought it. And if I can teach you how I buy properties and share with you mentally sort of the mind of a real investor and how I look at things, then my hope is that you're going to learn it well enough, and I'm going to teach it to you well enough, that as you're going around finding properties, you're going to find something, you're going to go, you know what, here's a pretty good property, but I'm not in a position today to own it. Maybe I can take it to Sherman and Sherman will pay me $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. And maybe part of the deal is he'll also let me look over his shoulder as he buys more property, because he knows that if I'm able to bring him deals, and the more I know about how to go find deals, the more deals I can potentially find for him. And maybe I can establish a relationship with Sherman because our relationship is based on me bringing him deals. And every time I bring him a deal, he returns my phone call. Because he's looking to do more deals. And why is he looking to do more deals? Because I'm looking to build more wealth. That, my friends, is the first step in the learning process of how this game gets played. Knowing who you're going to reach out to and why you're going to reach out to them if you are going to be a part of the ecosystem, and I hate that word, but it's probably appropriate, the ecosystem of real estate investors, where you're contributing something, and in exchange for contributing something, you're getting something in return. I think it was Zig Ziglar who said, if you help enough others to get what they want, you'll ultimately get what you want. My number one goal today, right here, right now, is to buy more investment properties. And if you can help people like me find and buy more investment properties, I'll be more than happy to pay you and compensate you for that. That is what this quick cash part of the real estate business is all about. Because those of us who want to buy and hold properties because we want to build that wealth, we want to hang on to properties that somebody else is paying the mortgage. And every 15 years we go, hip, hip, hooray, our property just doubled in value. And then at the end of 30 years say, hey, look, that house we bought for $300,000 is now worth 700,000 or 600,000 or 800,000 or $1 million or $1.2 million, and we don't owe the bank a nickel. That is the game your buyer, your end user, and ultimately you will be playing. And understanding how other players, how other team members fit in the process, so you can ultimately have people bringing deals to you, is what this 21 days is all about. Building a team that will allow you to learn this technique well enough to teach it to somebody else, so that they're bringing deals to you. Got it? So let's do a quick recap and then let's get out of here, because we're going into overtime and I promised you we weren't going to do this. First of all, what time are we getting together tomorrow? Anybody?
7.
No. And stop unmuting yourself. Type it in the chat box. What time are we getting together tomorrow? Yes, 8 o'clock. If you come at 7, nobody else will be here, and you'll be waiting for a long time going, what happened? All right, 8 o'clock tomorrow. All right. So do me a favor, on a scale of 1 to 10, type it in the chat box. If you're on, a couple of folks, for whatever reason, couldn't get into Zoom and you're watching this on the Facebook page, type it on the Facebook page. On a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being, Sherman, don't ever call me again. And 5 being, you know what, I'm already signing up for tomorrow's session, can't wait. Just tell me, give me a little love, give me a little feedback, tell me how we did tonight. All right, cool, thank you. 5+, oh wow. We love, all right. And for the, by the way, those of you who are typing less than 5, also don't be afraid to tell me why, tell me what I need to do different, tell me how I can be of more help, okay? So that's it for today. Here's your homework again one more time. I would like for you to go into the Facebook group, and if for some reason you want to put in your homework in the wrong section, please put it in the right section and delete it. I would rather you delete it than I delete it, because if you delete it, I know that you did what needed to get done, but if I delete it, you may come back behind me 10 minutes later and be upset because it's gone. But please put it in the right section, number 1. Number 2, if you had an aha moment today, I'm getting ready to add post your homework for day 2 here. If you had an aha moment during today's class session, let me know about it. If you want to take another stab at doing your daily task sheet, let me see it. You don't have to, but if some of the things I shared tonight help add some clarity, I'd love to hear about it. But most importantly, I would like for you to go back and watch that video again and see if you can pick up 1 or 2 things about what that property looked like in its before state that could be helpful to you as you're going around looking at properties. Now, we're not going to do a lot of quote unquote driving for dollars, but there will be some opportunities to do so as we get towards the latter part of the class. But just sort of understanding what you're looking for, the neighborhoods you're looking in, what state the properties you should be in. And I think if you go back and watch the first part of that video again, you'll pick up some stuff a second time that you didn't pick up the first time that could be an aha enlightening moment for you. And if it is, please also type that in the Facebook page in the appropriate section and go, you know what, when I looked at it the second time, I didn't see this the first time. I'm like, whoa, like I did the first time, I didn't see those windows on the garage. Like that was kind of an aha moment to go, hey, maybe this is more than this, maybe this house has more bedrooms in this neighborhood than other houses, and therefore maybe it's worth more money because they converted a garage into a couple of bedrooms. And when I saw the video the first time, I didn't pick up on it, but the second time, I'm like, oh wow, look, there's bedroom windows on the garage. There's windows on the garage. Just saying. All right, anybody got any questions of me before we get out of here? And if you do, I'm going to go ahead and give you permission. I'm going to stop sharing the screen. I'm going to give you permission to go ahead and unmute yourself and ask me questions. If you got questions, you don't necessarily have to type in the chat box at this point. But anybody got any questions before we get out of here?
Hey,
Sure.
Sherman. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yes.
A couple of people have asked, are you only buying in Prince George's County?
Me personally, I am only buying right now in Prince George's County. However, there are other members of Real Investors, and I would encourage you, if you are in a position to be buying properties, I would thoroughly encourage you to have those kind of conversations in the Facebook group and let it be known where you're looking and what you're looking for. Okay. And we'll have a couple of opportunities as we go along to have some specific places in the Facebook group to talk about, hey, I'm looking for, and sort of begin this sort of matching of buyers and sellers, wholesalers and investors, so that we can start working together in a more collaborative fashion before the class is over. Absolutely. Any other questions?
As far as the daily task sheet, can I write my times beyond 10 p.m. in the planning?
Absolutely. And you can also use the back of the sheet if you want to. You can also feel free to scratch. I mean, if your day doesn't start at 6 o'clock, your day starts at 10 o'clock. You know, you guys have the PDF. Feel free to edit. Feel free to edit the PDF that way. Somebody retyped the sheet and eliminated some stuff, and you don't want to eliminate stuff. But if you want to just sort of like change the time frame to make it more suitable for you, feel free to do that. Absolutely. Other questions before we get out of here?
Sherman,
Yes.
it seemed important to you whether the guy was a billionaire or not. I would suggest you look, because I don't know where to find it or I'd do it, the total value of everything in the US and also our gross domestic product, what we produced that year that you were looking at his money, and divide that into his money and then multiply it by what we have today, because it's really hard to get a dollar value comparing them across ages like that. But if you look at something like what everything in the country was worth and what he owned of it, and also what everybody produced and what he owned of it, you get a better value of how wealthy he would be today.
That's a great suggestion, Steve. But truthfully, I think I got the most important lesson, which is exactly what Robert Kiyosaki says in the book, Rich Dad: build a business and use your business to buy real estate. And every wealthy person in America whose first generation wealth, meaning they didn't inherit it from somebody else, has used that model. While I don't believe that John Jacob Astor was the only person in the early days of the United States of America to do that, he is the most documented person because his story is fairly well known and fairly easy to validate. And that's probably why so many people look at John Jacob Astor and go, gee, this guy was doing this back in the 1800s. The formula still works today. What John Jacob Astor did in Manhattan in 1700s, Tyler Perry did in Atlanta, Georgia in 2020. That at the end of the day is the only underlying message I need to walk away with, which is if it worked 200 plus years ago and it's still working today in the United States of America, the formula holds. And of course, again, I only gave you guys a very high level summary because this particular class, this 21 Days of Real Estate Riches, is not about wealth creation. I got another class for that, and I'm going to give that to you at the end of the session. But if we get too deep in that today, we're going to miss the mark in what we do need to cover in the next 20 days if you're going to start popping deals. And most of the people who are here because you either want to get your first deal done or you want to learn a technique for getting deals done in as little as 21 days so you can go teach it to somebody else and have somebody else bringing you deals. So I don't want to get too far bogged down in the lessons learned from Tyler Perry or John Jacob Astor or any other ones of the Forbes 400, because we got another training for another day that talks about that stuff. And I'll be more than happy to take you a whole lot deeper in terms of what I learned at 2 years of the MBA program at the Wharton School that I went to on a full fellowship. But that's not today's lesson. That's not what this 21-day program is all about. But I appreciate the comment. Anybody else before we get out of here?
Chairman, as far as the homework, are we also to read the postings in day one?
If you want to do that as an extra assignment, that'd be fine. Your primary homework for tonight is go back and watch that video and see if you can pick up some aha moments, particularly the early part of the video where I'm showing you what the house looked like before. So many times when we see properties and we talk to investors, we always see the after, we never see the before. In this particular video, which is like 6-7 minutes long, you get the before and the after and the during. And I would suggest just go back and watch some of the early parts and see if there's any aha moments of, gee, look, this is what the property looked like before Sherman started rehabbing it. Wow, maybe that's something I should be looking at as I'm going through neighborhoods and I'm going to properties and I'm looking at things. And also maybe even some of the commentary I made about the contractor and what the contractor was doing and how the contractor was doing. Because again, you make money in this business when you buy the properties, and you lose money in this business when your contractor runs amok. And I did not let this contractor run amok on me. Trust me on that. Okay. Really. But again, that's how to manage contractors. That's another class. That's another lesson. We're focused today on getting that first deal done. So let's keep our thought process, and I'm going to endeavor to keep my comments towards what are the essential things we need to do to get the first deal done. And for many of us, quite frankly, we need to figure out how to get control of our schedule. Because if you can't carve out an extra hour or two to do the lesson and do the homework because you got so many distractions going on in your life, you are going to fail miserably in this class and everything else in your life. Your life is out of control. The number one lesson in that, this is the reason why we're talking about schedule, not managing contractors, because if you can't manage yourself, how in the hell are you going to manage a contractor? Seriously. And the contractor see you coming and you be like $200,000. How'd that contractor take advantage? Because you weren't in control of your own life. You didn't have a let's do this and then this and this and this, and he saw you coming. Like we gotta get control of what we're doing on a day in, day out basis and figure out how we're gonna move stuff here and block time out to get things done if we have any hope whatsoever in being successful in this business. Let's get that lesson down this week before I start layering on top of it more advanced stuff. This is like building a house, folks. If we can't get the foundation right, who cares what the ceiling shingles look like? Who cares what the fan look like? If your foundation is crumbling because you don't have control of your schedule, you don't have control of your day, you don't have control of your time, and whose fault is that? It's not your kids, it's not your spouse, it's not your employer, it's yours. Everybody gets 24 hours in a day, even Tyler Perry and Oprah. It's not the hours you got, it's what did you do with the hours that you have? You don't get any more hours. So you figure out how to organize stuff in such a way that you're like, oh, look, I reclaimed 10 minutes here. Look, I reclaimed a half an hour here. Look, if I get my husband to do this instead of me doing this, I just reclaimed 45 minutes. And you put them together here, put them like building blocks, like, oh my God, I've got an extra 2 hours in my day. Let's go about start making some real estate deals. That's lesson number one. And then we can get to the good stuff. So those of you who want to go back in and look at some of those comments and look at some of the things I talked about, those of you who want to upload tonight so you can get the benefit of having me doing some critique and commentary first thing in the morning, we're gonna get that quote unquote time management thing down so that before you know it, you got more time than you know what to do with, which you can certainly dedicate towards getting real estate stuff done and putting some money in your pocket. Does that make sense to anybody other than me? Yes. All right. I'll take one more question, then we're out of here because you guys got homework and I got stuff to do for tomorrow morning's meetings. What do you got? Going once?
Oh, Rob, Sherman, there was one other thing I was looking at my notes. You also mentioned to do some light research on Oliver T. Carr Jr.
Not now. Not now. Oh. Guys, okay. Do not get distracted by some of the, you know what? I regret having said that.
I'm sorry.
Shut my mouth. Because next thing you know, we're going to be 2 weeks down the road, like, well, Sherman, I got a full report on Oliver T. Great. As my mama said to me about Lucille Ball when I would spend endless hours watching I Love Lucy, Lucy's got her money. You got yours to get. Get your butt out the door and start working.
Sorry.
No. But seriously, I'm glad you mentioned it because, again, this is some of the stuff I did in the first version of the 21 Day course. I gave you guys all these reading assignments and all these books. Next thing I know, people are not getting offers out the door because you're busy hunting down the books. It's like, look, I would love for you to do some research. You don't need to. I would love for you to do some research on John Jacob Astor. You don't need to do that right now. I would love for you to figure out how much John Jacob Astor was actually worth by calculating what. You don't need to do that stuff. Ain't no but a distraction right now. What we need to do is go back and watch Sherman's video and say, what did I learn from this one? And what did Sherman say that Howard said yesterday? And if you missed Howard's video, go watch Howard's video. And again, take a look at some of that commentary that's in there about people's daily tasks and daily schedule and see if there's anything I said to others that might be germane to you. See if there's some of the comments I made to Shiva or to Trinita or to several other people and go, gee, or Camilla say, hey, you know, he's really kind of talking to me too. And if I was able to reorient my schedule in this way, and this way, and this way, all of a sudden I now have an extra hour in my day. My God, what could you do with an extra hour in your day? Probably make another $100,000 this year. Seriously. Number one complaint I hear from people who, for whatever reason, can't do the 21-day course: I don't have time. Yeah, you do. First step, let me show you how to reorient your schedule so that you do have the time. Like, it's staring you in the face, you just can't recognize it because you're too close to it. You got too many people stealing your most precious asset. You're giving away your most precious asset. And if I can show you how to steal back an hour or two a day, you can add another $100,000 to your bank account by the end of this year. You'll add another $200,000 in your bank account as you go into next year. Promise you that. That's easy. And then once you actually start thinking about what you do in the day and asking yourself the question, why am I doing this and I'm not getting somebody else to do it? I now got you back another 3 or 4 hours, which it means I'm putting you on the path to keeping 90% of the money while only doing 10% of the work. But we got to start with the foundation. So let's do yesterday. If you honestly feel in your heart that you did not give the homework assignment yesterday your absolute best shot, do it over again. And in the same token, spend a little bit of time going through that video again and seeing if there's any aha moments. And if you didn't watch yesterday's video, go track down yesterday's video. It should be in the Facebook group. And if it's not there, you'll find it on my Facebook page, because I streamed live to my Facebook page yesterday. Go find that video and hear what Howard had to say. And let's just keep pace, because it is going to start to accelerate as we get into the second week. But I'm trying to keep this thing not too heavy and fairly directed and fairly focused as we finish out our first week and get into our first week, because it is going to get a lot faster and a lot heavier in terms of what you're going to need to do. But my God, if we can't do today's assignment and yesterday's assignment, we're not going to have a snowball's chance in hell when we get 2-3 weeks into it. And I really got you guys hustling. But listen, I'm not the kind of guy that you go to the gym the first day of the year and I got you doing 40 minutes on the treadmill. That's not fun. That's not fair. Let's just go for a walk around the block while it's 60 degrees out for 15, 20 minutes. That's what we're doing. Got it? All right, guys. Thank you very much. Appreciate you. Stay safe. And I'll see you tomorrow. What time tomorrow?
8.
8 o'clock. See you at 8.
8 o'clock.
Bye.